Brother Li looked at Han Feng and said, "Little bro, are you all right?" Han Feng's head was down like he was so tired. Han Feng looked up and said, "Finally." The scene shift to the cozy and war room, and Han Feng was saying, "Finally, the performance is over." The three of them are now in the room of that little girl, and this room was bigger than Han Feng's apartment. Everyone was relaxing and enjoying the warm electric heaters. Suddenly, Brother Li said, "I didn't expect this little sister to have her own house above you," Han Feng said with relaxed and smiling face. "That's right, and it's big, spacious, and much comfortable than my house." Han Feng suddenly said, "And it's all thanks to her that we can put on such a performance." A few moments before the committee members broke the door of Han Feng's apartment. Han Feng said, "To the little girl, proceed according to what I say. First, store the things in your space that's in the house. But remember to leave behind some rubbish and wrappers. Don't store everything." Then he turned to Brother Li and said, "Bro, go open the windows. We need to quickly lower the temperature inside the house." Brother Li was confused. "What exactly are you trying to do?" Han Feng explained. "We need to make it seem like we ran out of supplies for a long time. Let them use all their energy to tear down the door, and then get nothing in the end." Han Feng was eating with chopsticks while explaining them why he did that performance in his apartment. He said, "Mr. Zhang has made such a big deal out of that situation. If they were to return empty-handed, it will definitely stir up the anger within their group. Back when they didn't found any supplies in my apartment, in that situation, everyone will start to aim their finger at the weak. But at that time, I have the gun, so Hyona will definitely become the person who bears the blame." But Brother Li pointed at Han Feng and asked, "But there was so many or them. It's not exactly safe even if you have the gun right. For example, just now the gun was taken from you. Han Feng also said yes. That was basically the worst-case scenario. Han Feng said, I imagined after getting the gun, Mr. Zhang will probably peacefully resolve the situation in order to maintain his image, and that's what he did." Brothers asked again with a weird face, "But what if Mr. Zhang decides to shoot us instead?" Han Feng quickly said, "There was only one bullet inside the gun and I already shot it beforehand." Brother Li's eyes was brighter. "Awesome, little bro. So you let your gun be taken on purpose?" Hang said. "It can barely be considered a part of the plan." Brother Li was relaxed after hearing Han Feng's explanation. He said, "So from now on, we just need to pretend to be suffering but secretly enjoy our lives." Han Feng nodded, raised his hand and said, "No, our next core mission is to take down the committee." The next moment scene shifts to the basement, where people lined for their daily supplies from the committee members. It was too dark in there, so brought torchlights to help others. While everyone was focusing on the supplies, two black figures took the advantage of the darkness and went back store, where committee members stored their supplies. They successfully went back there, and Mr. Zhang was busy distributing supplies, and he didn't notice anything. The next scene, two members came out from the store carrying boxes of supplies, and one person said to other one, "Did you check the doors locked properly?" The person next to him said, "Don't worry, I check every time we go out." They also didn't notice Han Feng and Brother Li was hiding in the dark and listening their conversation. They both shared a same reaction, thumbs up, thinking they were on the right path to figure out where they hid the supplies. Scene shift to earlier at the room where they planned all this. Brother Li said, "According to my investigation, the first 4 floors have been cleared out, the 5th and 6th floor house logistics and families, and I can't get to the 7th and 8th floors. I feel the warehouse is more likely up there. There are guards above the 5th floor. I'll go up first and distract them, and you take the opportunity to knock the out with a stick. Try not to use the gun." The room was dark and quiet. Han Feng said, "Strange. Why is no one here?" While looking around, the other replied, "Maybe they went to eat." "There is no one on this floor," Brother Li said. "Keep your guard up," Han Feng warned. They reached the 2 rooms. One turned to the other and asked, "Bro, are you sure they keep their supplies in these rooms?" The other looked at the doors and said, I think so, but I can't be sure in a situation like this." They looked around the room, their eyes scanning every corner. "No guards is one thing," one said, "but isn't it a bit much to not see a single living soul?" Brother Li said, "Let's look around. I'll go left and you go right." "Shout if anything happens," Han Feng replied. Okay, thank God, I thought we'd have to fight our way in, Han Feng, breathing a sigh of relief. But this works too. It's more of a scouting mission. The scene shifts to the room where Han Feng telling everyone his plan. There are too many people in the committee. We definitely can't take them down with just a few of us. If we want to overthrow them, we'll have to do it from the inside, One asked, raising an eyebrow. How are we going to do that? Han Feng replied, in my opinion, the committee is really just an organization held up by its supplies. If we find their supply warehouse and let the evil king drain it, the whole committee will fall apart right away. The scene shifted to the dark room, Brother Li said. It's easy to say, but who knows which room they'll put their supplies in. We also need to keep an eye out for anyone coming our way. He saw Han Feng happily dancing in the corridor and said, raising an eyebrows, so you really found it? They came across a room with storehouse boldly written on the door. His face lit up with excitement. Bro, you actually found it, he exclaimed. But then his smile faded and he added, wait, don't you think it's a little too obvious? It might be a trap. Is it? He said, pausing for a moment. Even the key is put in so carefully? He said, feeling unsure. Brother Li answered, maybe they forget to pull it out. We'll find out if we open it. Suddenly, Han Feng shouted, wait! There is thin wire wrapped around the key and the handle. This is definitely a trap, he said, looking concerned. We have to be careful, they can even get bombs. Who knows what's hidden behind the door? I remembered the two people who had mentioned checking the warehouse earlier. Maybe they were talking about the warehouse door. The other one raised an eyebrow and said, that actually makes sense, bro. Brother Li said, don't touch anything for now, just figure out what's here. Then let's go upstairs and check. Han Feng replied, okay, as long as we locate the warehouse, we can figure out how to open the door later. As they quietly moved down the corridor, one of them whispered, we have to get all their supplies. They continued walking when unexpectedly the door to a nearby room creaked open. Two figures stepped out, engaged in conversation. We need to check that door again. When their eyes met, a wave of panic washed over them, and they froze, both realizing at once that they were in deep trouble. They ran down the corridor, their footsteps echoing as the two figures chased after them, shouting, "Stop!" The chase quickly turned into a messy fight. Rods clashed, and they shouted at each other, pushing and shoving. In the middle of the chaos, Brother Li and Han Feng saw his chance. Glancing quickly behind him, he dashed into a nearby room and slammed the door shut. He wedged the rod through the door handle, locking himself inside, breathing hard as the sounds of the fight continued outside. Han Feng turned to Brother Li and said, "Didn't you say there was no one upstairs during the supply distribution?" He replied, "Who knows? They didn't let me on this floor last time." They were on the 7th floor, heading up the stairs when he suddenly stopped. "Oh no, someone's coming up," he whispered. "Let's go upstairs first." They made it to the 8th floor when Brother Li noticed Han Feng's hand, covered in blood and bruises. "Bro, your hand!" he said, shocked. Han Feng winced as he looked at it. "Looks like it's broken," he said through clenched teeth. "We need to find somewhere to hide." In the darkness, Brother Li suddenly noticed something moving behind Han Feng. He tried to warn him, his voice urgent. "Little bro, behind you!" Han Feng was shocked. "Behind? What's wrong?" In the blink of an eye, a hand reached out from behind, grabbing Han Feng's face and pulling him backward. He lost his balance and stumbled. Brother Li shouted urgently, "Little brother!" His voice filled with shock and fear, falling into a concealed hole in the floor. Han Feng collapsed to the floor of the pitch-black room, disoriented and dizzy. From the shadows, a voice called out, low and concerned. Han Feng had been struck and knocked down, the blow leaving him momentarily stunned. As he lay there, trying to clear his head, he heard a voice above him. "Bro, are you all right?" The man who had been in the way of the ball now crouched beside him. With a grunt, Han Feng started to push himself up, his face set with determination. "Hang in there, bro," he said, steady despite the pain. "I'm fine, just give me a second." The man eyed him suspiciously. "What are you doing here?" Han Feng winced, still unsteady. "I'm here to collect supplies." Suddenly, the man stepped forward, pressing his boot down on Han Feng's hand. "Is that so?" he said coldly. "You deliberately skipped the 5th and 6th floors. You must know something about the committee." Han Feng frowned. You're following us." The man scoffed. "Following you? Did you really think there were no guards here?" Han Feng's attention was suddenly drawn to a group of people in the corner, sitting motionless, their eyes glazed over as if some force had drained their very life. The sight sent a chill down his spine. "Restrain him!" a voice commanded sharply, pulling Han Feng out of his thoughts. He looked toward the source of the order, seeing someone motioning to the group. "Where's the other one?" the voice continued, urgency creeping in. "Search every room! We can't let them escape!" Han Feng's heart raced. Asterisk brother Li. Had they found him? The man's commands echoed in his mind. "Where's the other one?" He could feel the weight of time slipping away. The man let out a weary sigh and walked toward the window, swinging it open. He glanced back at Han Feng. "This is the 8th floor," Han Feng said, his voice shaky. "What are you doing?" The man smirked. "Actually, it's only the 4th floor. The snow's piled up to about here." He gestured outside at the thick snow. "With the snow to cushion the fall, this height's nothing. Jump and you'll survive. Or die, your choice." Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. Han Feng tensed, his eyes snapping toward it. "Are you sure?" he called out, anxiety creeping into his voice. "We won't fall to our deaths?" Before the man could respond, the door creaked open. The man's voice rang out urgently. "He's there! Catch him!" Without hesitation, Han Feng turned and bolted, leaping through the window of the 4th floor. As he jumped, Han Feng activated the purple light in his right hand. The energy surged, healing his arm and softening the impact of his fall. The light's power protected him, and he landed safely, ready to move forward. The snow outside was deep, blanketing everything in white. He hit the ground hard, his face pale and expressionless as he struggled to rise. As he struggled to stand, Han Feng noticed another figure lying nearby. From above, the man's voice called out, "Is he still alive?" The other man glanced down and shouted, "Hey, there's someone else!" The bearded man hit the glass with his hand, shattering it, then tore through the middle with ease. Han Feng couldn't help but mutter, "Wow," watching the scene unfold. The scene shifted to a room where people were banging on a door with rods. They looked around, speaking in hurried whispers. "Nobody's here," one of them said. "He must have escaped downstairs. Go after him and report to Mr. Jiang." The scene shifted again to a cozy room with a crackling fire. The bearded man and Han Feng sat nearby, watching a lifeless corpse. Han Feng observed the man's focused gaze and calm movements, thinking, "Asterisk, this bearded man, he's sharp." The scene shifted once more to the stairs on the 3rd floor. Han Feng tried to make his way to the 2nd floor, but suddenly, the bearded man grabbed him by the collar, yanking him back. "5th floor," the man said in a low, urgent voice. "If it weren't for you, I might have been discovered." The man spoke quickly, his grip still tight on Han Feng. "Once the people upstairs come down, they'll definitely think we went further down. Plus, there's probably an ambush waiting below." Han Feng gasped. I get it, I'm barely breathing." Though Han Feng didn't fully trust the man's counterintuitive logic, he later realized his decision had been the right one. The scene shifted again to a cozy room where a lifeless, dummy-like figure sat. The man turned to Han Feng, eyes narrowing. "Scared?" he asked. "It's nothing but a dead man." Han Feng, still on edge, glanced at the bearded man and asked, "Why are you helping me?" The man shrugged slightly. "Helping you? I wouldn't say that. But you avoided the trap on the 7th floor, which tells me you've got some sense. So tell me what you know about the committee." He paused, his gaze steady. "Of course you don't have to tell me. In that case, at least I'll have someone to watch my back." Han Feng thought for a moment before replying, "From the guards you took down, it looks like you're either here to steal supplies or you've got a grudge against the committee. Your appearance must have thrown a wrench into their plans." He met the man's gaze. "Do you have a grudge against them?" The man shrugged. "Sure, whatever you think. But if it wasn't for Jiang Shuiyu hiding something..." Han Feng, frustrated by the vague response, shot back, "What secret?" The man raised an eyebrow. "So you do know Jiang Shuiyu. Looks like there's some bad blood between you two." He leaned in, his voice cold. "Now either you tell me everything you know about the committee or you'll be the second corpse here." Han Feng sat there, sweat dripping down his face, his mind racing. He finally spoke, his voice steady. Han Feng had begun telling his story. The committee, along with Mr. Zhang, had brought explosives to my house, taken my women, and looted my supplies. Gripping the gun on the table, he muttered to himself, "Asterisk. To get revenge, I have to use every card I've been holding on to." But deep down, he knew. A pistol would be useless against them. In the end, it was only a tool to bargain for his life. The large man across from him sat, listening intently, his expression steady and unblinking. Han Feng blended a mix of truth and half-truths, hoping that the presence of the broken pistol would make his tale more convincing. The bearded man nodded thoughtfully. "Asterisk. A broken pistol means nothing to the committee," he said flatly. "Asterisk, Mr. Zhang didn't take it from you, which is proof in itself. If he had wanted to kill you, you'd be dead already." Han Feng, feeling a slight calm settle in, eyed him carefully. It seemed the man believed his story. "But why didn't he take my gun?" Han Feng asked, his curiosity piqued. The bearded man paused, then answered slowly. "There are two possibilities. One, he was just putting on a show to maintain control, his leadership intact. The other, Mr. Zhang has a much more powerful weapon or even an arsenal. Either way, the fact that he spared you speaks volumes." Han Feng remained silent for a moment, his mind racing. "So you brought your brother to the 7th floor to deal with Zhang Shuiyu?" the man continued. "Yes, without him, the committee would have been more unified. In fact, the committee's original intent wasn't so bad. They managed to keep a few people alive, at least. But Zhang Shuiyu's ideology, that's what caused all of this. He believes that only the worst should survive, those who have lost their humanity in this apocalypse. He's made it so that those people can live comfortably in a world they can no longer fit into. The committee has lost its way. It has to be destroyed." A heavy silence followed as the bearded man thought deeply over Han Feng's words. After what seemed like an eternity, he finally stood up. "I do agree," the bearded man said coldly. "The committee is doomed. But so what? This world is ruled by the strong. The weak, they're just prey." Han Feng narrowed his eyes. "But have you ever thought about what will become of this world if we leave it unchecked? If we let the strong run everything?" The bearded man didn't answer directly. Instead, he slowly walked toward a room in the apartment, his back to Han Feng. "Let's ask someone else," he said, his voice low. Without warning, he opened the door. A figure shifted in the shadows, and before anyone could react, a bag flew toward the man's face. The bearded man didn't even flinch. He simply tilted his head, letting the bag whoosh by. Then, with a swift movement, he threw a punch, landing a heavy blow on the silhouette in the dark. The figure barely managed to block the punch with trembling hands, but the force was still overwhelming. When the bearded man tried to pull his fist back, he found his hand caught in an unbreakable grip. Surprised, he raised his other hand and aimed it at the person's head. But just as the punch was about to land, it halted, only a hair's breadth from its target. A voice interrupted the tense moment. "Wait, are you Nurse Jin?" It was Han Feng's voice, laced with disbelief. To his surprise, the figure in the dark was indeed Nurse Jin, the head nurse from the city hospital. "What are you doing here?" Han Feng asked, still trying to piece things together. Nurse Jin blinked in surprise. "I could ask you the same thing. I didn't expect to see you here." As she tended to his broken arm later, Han Feng's mind raced. She apologized for overhearing their conversation, explaining that she had come to check on Grandpa Li after receiving some supplies from him. But when she arrived, she found him dead. Then, as she was about to leave, she heard someone prying open the door, and instinctively she hid in the room. Han Feng simply nodded, taking in the grim reality of the situation. The bearded man, still expressionless, stepped closer and coldly remarked, "You've contributed to Grandpa Li's death, knowingly or unknowingly. Your selflessness is a joke. You know what's really important in this world, saving as many as you can, no matter the cost." Nurse Jin's face hardened, and she didn't back down. "I don't regret it. Maybe I'm cruel, but we do what we must to survive. This apocalypse isn't about fairness." The bearded man remained silent, knowing his words would change nothing. He turned to leave the room. As he walked away, Han Feng asked, "Is your ability to move freely through the building arranged by Glass's men?" Nurse Zhan confirmed, nodding. "Yes. They gave me a pass and a large amount of supplies. I didn't have much reason to refuse. But recently I found out that Glass's men have been kicking out the sick and elderly. Grandpa Lee was one of them. By the time I found out, it was too late." The three of them stood in silence, staring at the frozen corpse of Grandpa Lee until the bearded man spoke again, his voice low. "I would have done the same thing if I were in Glass's shoes. Fewer mouths to feed means more supplies for the strong." Han Feng, however, disagreed. His mind was already spinning with the new information. "My brother Li said a new group has emerged in the community. They're against the committee. Zhang Shuiyu is probably trying to eliminate them before they get stronger." The bearded man shrugged. "We left the sick, weak, and elderly behind to keep supplies for the strong, like when I used bombs to gather supplies earlier. It's a fight for survival, no time for hesitation." "Do you think that's even possible?" one of them asked, his voice uncertain. The bearded man and Nurse Zhan exchanged a grim look. "He's going to war with that new group," the bearded man said quietly. Han Feng's heart sank. "If that's true, I need to find those weapons." The bearded man raised an eyebrow. "And then what? What will you do if you find them?" Han Feng's voice grew more determined, tinged with anger. "I'm not going down with the rest of them. If I can find the armory, I'll figure out how to fight back." The bearded man stood up, walked toward the door, and stopped. He turned to face Han Feng. "If you want to, go ahead. End it all. But understand this. Zhang Shuiyu's committee is nothing. They're small. There will be more battles for survival ahead. The only ones who will survive are the strongest. The last one standing wins." He seemed to focus on something, assembling his thoughts carefully, as if preparing for something big. Han Feng and Nurse Zhan exchanged anxious glances. The silence between them stretched until Nurse Zhan turned to Han Feng. "Is there anything I can help you with?" she asked quietly. Han Feng sighed, shaking his head. "No, I don't want to drag you into this." Her face flushed with frustration. "Don't say that! If you're right, the whole community is in danger. And let's not forget, Zhang Shuiyu stole your supplies. And your women. I'm so angry just thinking about it." Han Feng clenched his fists. "I know," he muttered, his voice heavy with emotion. The wind howled through the open window. A calm, steady voice broke the tension. "Thank you. There's something I need to ask of you." People whispered in the background, murmuring about Han Feng. One person spoke up. "Are you sure it was him?" "I'm certain," the other replied. "I saw him just yesterday. I wouldn't mistake him." As they moved toward the back of the room, Han Feng wiped sweat from his forehead, the pain in his arm throbbing. He tightened the bandage around his hand, preparing himself for whatever came next. The scene shifted to a desolate, frozen hallway on an unspecified floor. Painful, gut-wrenching screams echoed relentlessly, filling the space with an air of dread. These cries of agony belonged to Han Feng, who was bound tightly, his hands and body immobilized. Jin Wen loomed over him, delivering brutal kicks to his gut without mercy. "Mr. Zhang was generous enough to spare you once before," Jin Wen growled, his voice cold and laced with venom. "But it seems you're nothing more than an ungrateful thief. How dare you try to steal our supplies? I'll cripple your other hand and see if you dare to steal again." With a menacing glare, Jin Wen raised a cold metal rod, prepared to make good on his threat. Just as the situation seemed hopeless for Han Feng, a homeowner barged in urgently. "Jin Wen, Glass's man is calling everyone to gather upstairs. Something's happened." Jin Wen hesitated, but ultimately decided to leave, his frustration evident. He cast one last glare at Han Feng before storming off. Han Feng gasped, seizing the brief reprieve, his body trembling as he lay motionless, waiting for the sounds of footsteps to fade. Moments later, a faint green glow began to emanate from his body, slowly intensifying. Han Feng remained on his back as the healing energy spread, this time enveloping his entire body. With each pulse of light, his wounds sealed themselves until he was completely healed. Flexing his once broken arm, Han Feng marveled at his recovery, though the process left him so drained he nearly fainted. "I'll need to study the limits of this ability," he thought. "This kind of exhaustion is going to be a problem." Determined to seize the opportunity, Han Feng used his purple-hued power to easily break free of his restraints. However, just as he began plotting his next move toward the committee's armory, the sound of hurried footsteps outside the apartment caught his attention. The door creaked open, and with a loud thud, someone was thrown inside. Quickly, Han Feng retied the ropes around his body and feigned unconsciousness. Two voices drifted in as the homeowners resumed their conversation, their words punctuated by the occasional laugh. After a few moments, they left, shutting the door firmly behind them. As soon as the coast was clear, Han Feng's eyes snapped open. He turned toward the person lying next to him, curiosity flashing in his gaze. His breath caught when he saw the bloodied and battered face beside him. "Brother Li?" he murmured in shock. The man next to him was indeed Brother Li, barely conscious and in far worse shape than Han Feng had been. To wake him, Han Feng delivered a sharp slap across his cheek. Moments later, Brother Li stirred, blinking groggily. Surprisingly, instead of anger, Brother Li offered a weak smile. "Thanks for the slap," he muttered, his voice hoarse. "It did the trick." Brother Li groaned softly and added with a faint chuckle, "If there's a next time, though, do me a favor. Slap the side that's not swollen. I can't feel a thing on the left side of my face right now." Han Feng, his patience thinning, leaned closer. "Enough joking around. What happened on your end after we got separated?" Through muffled groans, Brother Li began recounting his ordeal. "When you were dragged into that room, I stayed in the hallway. It wasn't long before the committee homeowners started banging on the door. From the sound of it, they were seconds away from breaking in. I had no choice but to unlock the door to the power distribution room and hide inside." He paused, wincing at the memory. "Once inside, I noticed something strange, a big hole in the wall. It seemed to lead somewhere. I figured those bastards would check the distribution room sooner or later, so I crawled down along the wires. I thought it might lead to the parking lot on the first underground floor, but instead, it took me to the second underground level." Han Feng listened intently as Brother Li continued, his voice growing more animated. "There was no one there, but what I found, it was shocking. There were stacks of boxes, all sealed tightly. I opened a few and they were filled with sausages, each one as thick as my forearm. I was about to grab one for a closer look when I heard a noise behind me. The next thing I knew, I woke up to your slap." Brother Li's expression shifted, excitement mingled with suspicion. "But now I understand why the committee acts so arrogant. They're hoarding all that food. Sausages, Han Feng, piles of them." He gestured wildly with his hands to illustrate the size. Han Feng frowned, skepticism evident. "Sausages? Are you sure that's what you saw?" Li hesitated, scratching the back of his head sheepishly. "Well, they looked like sausages. There weren't any labels on the packages, but the shape was unmistakable. Now that I think about it, I've never seen sausages that big before." A sense of unease began to creep over Han Feng. "Something doesn't add up," he muttered. "If the committee has so much food, why would they waste resources, even bombs trying to steal my supplies?" A sudden realization struck him. "Li, did it ever occur to you that the room you found might be Jiang Shuiyu's secret warehouse?" Li's eyes widened in shock. "What? Are you saying those giant sausages weren't food?" Before Han Feng could answer, the sound of approaching footsteps silenced them. The two froze, listening intently as voices echoed from the hallway. "Glass Man is acting strange," one homeowner said, his tone tinged with suspicion. "Why is he suddenly so anxious to get rid of these two? Didn't he always want to win Li over to his side?" Han Feng and Li exchanged a petrified glance. It was clear now, Glass Man had decided they were a liability. The door creaked open and the homeowners stepped in, their expressions dark and cautious. "Huh? Where are they?" one of them muttered, confused. "Did we go into the wrong apartment?" "No," the other replied. "They're here somewhere. Check under the bed." Unbeknownst to the two homeowners, Han Feng and Li had quietly positioned themselves behind the door. Eyes gleaming with determination and a thirst for revenge, they moved swiftly. Li lunged at the homeowner closest to him, his fists swinging with unrelenting force. At the same moment, Han Feng dashed toward the other, his movements a blur of speed and precision. The tables had turned. After subduing the two homeowners and tying them up, Han Feng dusted off his hands and turned to Li. "Since Glassman is so desperate to have you killed, we need to go back to that room and find out exactly what's in those boxes." Brother Li furrowed his brow. "All right, but what do we do with the boxes once we know what's inside? If they're really important supplies, there are dozens of them. How are we going to move that much stuff?" "Don't worry," Han Feng reassured him, a sly grin forming. "I've already made arrangements." With that, the two left the apartment, heading toward their next destination. Han Feng added, "Let's meet up with the evil king's true eye first. She might know something we don't." Just as they stepped into the hallway, Han Feng's communication earpiece crackled to life. The voice of the little girl, the evil king's true eye, came through. "Han Feng," she whispered urgently, "a woman claiming to be your sister is at the apartment door, asking to be let in." Han Feng's heart skipped a beat. "My sister?" "Yes," the girl replied hesitantly. "But there's something off. She came here before, stole your gun, and threatened to kill you. I don't think it's safe to let her in." A grim realization dawned on Han Feng. "Holy! That's Li Hyona!" he shouted into the device. "Don't open the door! Under no circumstances, do you hear me? She's not my sister!" The connection fizzled with muffled noises before cutting out entirely. Han Feng cursed under his breath. "Did she hear me? Is she safe?" He tried reconnecting, but the line was dead. Turning to Li, Han Feng spoke with urgency. "The secret warehouse will have to wait. We need to check on the evil king's true eye first." The two rushed to the floor above. Cautiously, they pushed the door open just enough to peek into the dimly lit hallway. It was empty, but noises echoed faintly from further down. "What's going on?" Li whispered, his eyes narrowing. The distant noise became clearer as they approached. On the stairwell, Jin Wen's deep voice carried through the air. "The injured women and elderly homeowners go upstairs from the left. The rest of you, grab your weapons and head to the basement. If they attack us, all our supplies will be taken and my family will starve. We must stop them at all costs." Hiding nearby, Han Feng and Li exchanged confused looks. "Is Jin Wen talking about Li Zhenghao and his crew?" Han Feng whispered. "I'm not sure," Brother Li replied, his tone cautious. "But this chaos is working in our favor. We should blend in with the crowd." Donning masks from their pockets, the two quickly joined the group, their disguises allowing them to slip in unnoticed. The atmosphere grew tense as the crowd edged closer to the commotion on the stairwell. Suddenly, a loud crash silenced the murmurs. In front of Han Feng and Li's shocked gazes, a homeowner was brutally knocked over, his body hitting the cold, hard stairs with a sickening thud. Gripping the stairwell railing stood a man radiating malice, Jiang Yang-yu, a member of the committee's army. In his hand, he wielded a long metal pipe. Beside him was Jiang Zhongchai, his expression smug and menacing. The two exuded an oppressive aura that sent waves of fear through the crowd. Even Han Feng and Li couldn't help but feel a shiver run down their spines. The two men stepped forward with confidence, their presence commanding absolute dread. Whatever plans Han Feng and Li had, they knew the situation had just become far more dangerous. The scene shifted to Li Hyona, who was still standing just outside the apartment door. Pressing her ear against it, she strained to hear any signs of movement from inside, but the silence was unbroken. Nothing. Not even a sound, she thought, her frustration mounting. Was Han Feng even here? Had the little girl lied? Doubt crept into her mind as she began to wonder if Han Feng had actually moved elsewhere. Her musings were interrupted by a voice calling her name. Startled, Hyona turned sharply and was surprised to see Nurse Jin approaching. The nurse's expression was a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "What are you doing here, Hyona?" Nurse Jin asked, her tone direct. Hyona forced a nervous laugh, masking her unease. "Oh, nothing much. I came here looking for something to eat," she replied, gesturing vaguely. Nurse Jin raised an eyebrow. "Looking for food?" she repeated, her gaze drifting past Hyona. "Then why did you bring so many people with you?" Hyona stiffened. Behind her stood a large group of homeowners, men, women, and children of varying ages, crowding together with wary expressions. They shifted uncomfortably under Nurse Jin's sharp gaze, some gripping tools or makeshift weapons. The tension in the air grew heavier as the nurse's suspicion deepened. Hyona's weak excuse wasn't going to hold for long, and she knew it. Hyona glanced at Nurse Jin and smirked. "Yeah, isn't it? What are you doing here?" she asked mockingly. Nurse Jin's expression remained calm as she replied, "I'm a nurse. I'm here to treat people. What's wrong with that?" Hyona's eyes narrowed. "Treat people? Is Han Feng sick?" she wondered, her suspicion flaring. Then a memory hit her. She had seen Han Feng and Nurse Jin together before in the basement. No, they know each other, she realized. Her gaze hardened as she turned around and whispered urgently to the crowd behind her. "This nurse is with Han Feng," she muttered. At her words, two men from the group stepped forward. They approached Nurse Jin with a menacing air. Nurse Jin immediately noticed their intent and snapped, "What do you think you're doing? Mr. Zhang gave strict orders not to disturb me while I'm working." But Hyona smirked. "Ha! Once I catch you, Han Feng won't have a choice but to come out." Ignoring Nurse Jin's warning, the two men grabbed her arms, twisting them behind her back. "Forgive us, Nurse Jin," one of them said mockingly. "Just be patient." Before he could finish, Nurse Jin's voice dropped to an icy calm. "Let me go or you'll regret this." Without hesitation, she grabbed both men by their arms, effortlessly lifting them off the ground. With a swift, fluid motion, she slammed them into each other mid-air. The two collapsed to the ground, groaning in pain. Hyona and the crowd behind her froze in shock, staring at Nurse Jin with wide eyes. Her strength was monstrous. Brushing off her jacket, Nurse Jin glanced back at the group. "I don't care what you're here for," she said calmly but firmly. "But don't disturb me while I'm working." Hyona, momentarily shaken, quickly recovered. She stepped back and pulled a knife from her pocket. With a shout, she lunged at Nurse Jin. "You monster!" she screamed, slashing wildly. The knife missed Nurse Jin by mere inches, slicing through her jacket but leaving her unharmed. Hyona stumbled back, shouting at the group, "This woman is insanely strong! Be careful, everyone!" As the commotion escalated, a new sound broke through the chaos. The door to Han Feng's apartment creaked open, drawing everyone's attention. Suddenly, the objects in the group's hands, tools, weapons, even loose clothing, began to tremble violently. The air crackled with an unseen force. "What's happening?" Hyona yelled, her voice panicked. The items were yanked from their hands, flying toward the open door as if pulled by an invisible vortex. Inside the apartment, a swirling portal shimmered into existence. The force emanated from the dimensional gate, activated by the evil king's true eye. The little girl. Hyona and her group stood frozen, staring at the door in utter disbelief. The little girl inside Han Feng's apartment formed intricate hand signs with her fingers, her movements deliberate and precise. She looked eerily focused, reminiscent of a ninja from a popular anime. Calmly, she uttered two chilling words. "Almighty pull." In an instant, the dimensional gate surged with immense power. A violent force erupted from the portal, sucking everything in its vicinity toward it. Tools, weapons, and even furniture hurtled into the swirling vortex. "She must be a fan of pain," someone muttered in disbelief. Chaos ensued as the homeowners panicked, their cries for help filling the hallway. "Help!" they screamed, scrambling to grab onto anything stable. Meanwhile, in the dimly lit basement below, Li Jinghao and his crew wreaked havoc, throwing punches and smashing anyone who dared to cross their path. The scene was chaotic, fists flying and groans of pain echoing through the space. Not far from the madness, Han Feng and Brother Li sprinted through the basement corridors, pursued by an enraged Fate Guy and his lackeys. Han Feng, panting, glanced back at their pursuer and shouted, "Didn't we just punch him? Why the hell is he still chasing us?" Brother Li, equally winded, replied between breaths, "That was your punch, little brother." Behind them, the Fate Guy's swollen face twisted with rage. His left cheek, puffed up from Han Feng's earlier punch powered by the purple light, made him look lopsided and even more furious. "Bastard! I'm going to kill you!" Fate Guy roared, his voice shaking with fury. More voices echoed behind them. "Hey! Han Feng and Li escaped!" someone shouted. Hearing this, Brother Li cursed loudly. "Damn it!" Han Feng's expression grew grim. "If they catch us again, we're finished. We need a plan." Suddenly, an idea struck him. He grabbed Brother Li by the shoulder and said urgently, "Brother Li, you go pick up the evil king. I'll hold them off. We'll meet at the agreed spot later." Brother Li hesitated, his worry evident. "Ah? But how are you going to— Don't worry, just go!" Han Feng interrupted, shoving him forward. Brother Li hesitated, but finally nodded and ran off in the opposite direction. Han Feng wasted no time. Spotting a nearby car, he leaped onto its roof, surveying the approaching mob. People were coming at him from all directions, their anger palpable. Han Feng smirked, raising his arm toward the ceiling. A brilliant flash of purple light illuminated the dim basement. "Listen up, you damn idiots!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Then, with a cocky grin, he raised his middle finger to the crowd and bellowed, "I'm the one who drove up the prices in this neighborhood! Starve to death, you poor bastards!" The crowd collectively froze for a moment, their faces contorted with disbelief and rage. "Too damn arrogant!" someone snarled. "Kill him!" another yelled, and the mob surged forward, their fury reignited. Han Feng braced himself, ready to buy Brother Li the time he needed. Han Feng started to run again, his mind racing. Although the entrance and exit of the underground parking lot are closed by iron doors, but once the pressure of the snow on the iron gate is released, his thoughts were abruptly cut off. He didn't notice the punch coming from the left. It slammed into his chest with brutal force. He went flying, crashing into the garage shutter with a deafening bang. Gritting his teeth, he stood up quickly, his gaze locking onto the whole pack of people in front of him, each one ready to kill. "Get him! He can't run away now!" everyone shouted, their voices echoing through the garage. Han Feng winced in pain, his chest throbbing, but he acted quickly. Placing his right hand on the garage shutter, he focused his purple light energy into the cold, unyielding metal. The shutter began to glow faintly, its surface softening under the influence of his power. "What's happening? Why is the door glowing?" someone gasped, their voice trembling with confusion and fear. Suddenly, the light disappeared. The crowd stood frozen, stunned by Han Feng's unexpected move. He smirked, his voice ringing out like a challenge. "Come again, you bastards!" The next moment, the garage shutter quivered violently. It looked like it was about to explode. Then chaos erupted. A heavy snowstorm burst through the shattered metal, flooding the area in an instant. The howling wind carried snow and ice into every corner. "An avalanche!" someone screamed in terror. "Run away!" Panic consumed the group as they scrambled toward the stairs, but it was too late. The snow moved too quickly, consuming everything and everyone in its path. For a moment there was silence. Then a hand emerged from the suffocating blanket of snow. It was Han Feng. He coughed, his breath ragged as he pulled himself up. Snow clung to his clothes as he stood, shivering in the icy wasteland. Looking down at his trembling hands, his mind raced. After softening such a large area, I didn't feel tired at all. Is it because of the increased proficiency? Suddenly, a familiar sound came from the left side. Waiting to die here? It was the bearded guy from before. He was sitting beside Han Feng, watching him intently. Han Feng frowned, confused. Why do I feel like this guy is always staring at me? Someone shouted from the stairs, "Hey! The snow has stopped!" The bearded man didn't hesitate. He grabbed Han Feng and dragged him out of the snow. "This way," he said firmly. They made their way to the corner of the first floor. Han Feng, still catching his breath, asked, "Who are you, and why are you helping me?" The bearded man turned to him, his expression unreadable. "I'm Li Zhenghao." Han Feng took a step back, his eyes narrowing. "Li Zhenghao? The one who fought with Mr. Zhang?" Li Zhenghao moved closer, grabbing Han Feng's hand as if trying to convey trust through his grip. "That's right. It was me." Han Feng stared at him, still suspicious. "What are you doing?" Li Zhenghao extended his hand further. "Cooperate with me." Han Feng blinked, startled. "Didn't you refuse before?" Li Zhenghao shrugged, his face calm but firm. "I changed my mind." Han Feng raised an eyebrow and smirked slightly. "You suddenly changed your mind? You're not trying to trick me, are you?" Li Zhenghao chuckled, his sharp eyes glinting. "It's just a matter of each taking what they need. Hurry up and do it or don't do it." Han Feng's expression grew serious. He thought carefully, if we can get this guy to contribute, the chances of bringing down Mr. Zhang will be even higher. Although doubt lingered in his mind, he met Li Zhenghao's gaze and said, although I don't believe you, since we have the same goal. He hesitated, but eventually shook Li Zhenghao's hand. It's a pleasure to work with you, Han Feng said with resolve. The scene shifted to a bone-chilling cold of -2 Fahrenheit. Stepping down into the frosty air, a massive heavy vehicle loomed in the dim surroundings. Suddenly, a voice pierced through the silence saying, Mr. Zhang, the convoy has arrived. You should head upstairs and call for help. The other person responded, all right. The Jin brothers will go and notify the family members, asking them to come down first. Jinwen turned to Mr. Jiang, his voice tense. Sir, the snow has crushed the door to the basement level. Before Mr. Jiang could respond, Jinwen added grimly, the temperature plummeted and the crowds were scattering fast. Jinwen leaned in close to the man with glasses and whispered, those two people, they have gone. A voice called out from below. It's okay, Mr. Jiang replied quietly. It won't affect our plan. The scene shifted to a dimly lit corner, where a bearded man and Han Feng crouched low, hidden behind a car. His eyes narrowed as he spotted something unusual. He muttered under his breath, his voice filled with confusion. Why is there a military jeep in our neighborhood? When did it even drive in? The bearded man replied with a quiet sigh. These people must have come from outside. I heard Jiang say before that the residents should be relocated. Han Feng frowned, his expression turning serious. Where can we even move to? He muttered. It's freezing out here, and the snow's only getting worse. The bearded man shrugged casually, a slight grin on his face. Just ask, and you'll find out, he replied. The bearded man made a swift move, his tone sharp as he spoke. I leave Mr. Jiang to you, he said. Han Feng raised an eyebrow, his voice laced with curiosity. Hey, what's the rush? He asked, watching the bearded man move with urgency. The scene shifted once more to the area where the heavy vehicle loomed. A man stood nearby, his voice commanding as he addressed the group. Everyone, get ready to head upstairs. We need to pick someone up. A voice suddenly rose in alarm, speaking to those around. What's wrong? Another voice quickly responded, sharp with urgency. There's an intruder! A man, gripping a rod in one hand and a torch in the other, shouted to the group, his voice cutting through the tension. Be careful, don't scatter, while he was telling others to be careful. The bearded man suddenly came close to his face, grabbed his face with his powerful right hand, and pushed him on the ground with powerful force. The other men beside him got scared and started shouting, their eyes scanning the surroundings with caution. The tension in the air was palpable as they positioned themselves, ready for whatever might come next. The air exploded into chaos as gunfire erupted, each shot echoing in the tense atmosphere. Amidst the violence, one man shouted over the chaos, his voice sharp and commanding. Over there! Shoot! The atmosphere erupted into a brutal fight, fists flying as men collided in a blur of movement. Grunts and shouts filled the air as they punched and struggled, each trying to overpower the other in the frenzy of chaos. Amid the chaos, a voice cut through the noise, sharp and commanding. Hey, don't run too far. Protect Mr. Zhang. The scene shifted suddenly. Tension thick in the air as a gun was pressed to the back of Mr. Zhang's head. A cold, commanding voice followed. Don't move! It was Han Feng. His grip was tight on the gun, the barrel pressing coldly against the back of Mr. Zhang's head. Mr. Zhang remained calm, his voice steady despite the gun at his head. I've been waiting for you for a long time, Mr. Han, he said, his words laced with a hint of anticipation. Han Feng's eyes narrowed, a small smirk on his face. You knew I'd come, he said, his voice cold. Mr. Zhang nodded, unfazed. Of course, he replied calmly. A voice suddenly shouted, Mr. Zhang, It was Jin Wang, but Mr. Jiang waved at him and said it was fine. Mr. Jiang replied calmly, his voice steady despite the situation. Before the cold storm hit, you stockpiled a lot of supplies. I thought you were one of their contacts, but it turns out I was wrong. Mr. Jiang slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, his eyes fixed on Han Feng. Take a close look at the bottom of your pistol, he said, his tone calm yet firm. Han Feng's eyes dropped to the bottom of the gun as Mr. Jiang pointed it out. His expression shifted. A bug? He muttered, a hint of disbelief in his voice. How did this guy get his hands on this? Mr. Jiang smirked, his gaze steady. Do you really think I would have given the gun back to you? He replied, his voice dripping with subtle amusement. I know exactly what you want to do. Han Feng's expression darkened, his grip tightening on the gun. Even if you know now, he said coldly, what can you do? Who are the they he is talking about? And who is he picking up and why? Han Feng pressed the gun toward Mr. Jiang's face. Don't be nervous, he said. I would have dealt with you a long time ago if I wanted to. Mr. Jiang remained calm, his eyes steady. You're a smart man, he said, his tone measured. I hope you'll join us. As long as we keep sending people to them, we can survive. Han Feng flashed a fake smile, his eyes narrowing with disdain. You want me to be your cannon fodder? He sneered. Sorry, I refuse. That's a pity, Mr. Jiang said with a mock sigh, his expression unreadable. Suddenly, a voice cut through the tension, sharp and unexpected. A man, clad in a safety kit and holding a gun, had jumped on his feet, causing the interruption. Han Feng's eyes widened in shock as he turned to the guy. Special forces? He muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. As the force began to open fire, Han Feng immediately darted, scrambling to find cover. Bullets whizzed past him, and he moved swiftly, trying to evade the shots. Behind him, 3 men, all clad in safety kits, emerged from their hiding spots and began shooting, providing cover fire as Han Feng ran for safety. The chaos intensified as the sound of gunfire filled the air. As Han Feng ran, the bearded man suddenly grabbed him by the neck, yanking him to the side with surprising strength. The grip was tight, forcing Han Feng to struggle for breath as the man pulled him close, his face inches from Han Feng's. When Han Feng saw the bearded man's face, his expression shifted to one of surprise and urgency. What are you doing here? He demanded, his voice harsh. Get out of here now! Han Feng narrowed his eyes, confusion flickering in his expression. Aren't they just 3 Special Forces soldiers? He asked, his voice tinged with suspicion. The bearded man looked at Han Feng. With determination, I'll lead them away, he said quickly. You handle the situation. Han Feng's expression turned incredulous. You must be kidding, he replied, shaking his head. They have rifles. The bearded man charged forward, moving with surprising speed and skill. A chaotic scene erupted as gunfire and fists collided. He engaged the soldiers, dodging bullets and delivering swift blows, using the environment to his advantage. The air was filled with the sounds of punches, gunshots, and shouts as the fight raged on. The bearded man fought fiercely, determined to create a diversion for Han Feng. As Han Feng watched the bearded man fight with unmatched skill and precision, a realization struck him. Oh my God, he thought to himself, his eyes widening in disbelief. This guy is definitely not an ordinary person. The scene shifted once again to the heavy vehicle, where Mr. Jiang was already heading towards the vehicle. His face was set with determination as he spoke to those around him. It's too late. Let's drive up and pick them up. Han Feng watched the unfolding scene with a focused intensity. Slowly, he extended his hands toward the floor, his body radiating a purple energy. The purple force began to soften everything it touched, causing the surrounding objects to bend and shift as if under a gentle yet powerful influence. The air itself seemed to pulse with the energy, making the world around Han Feng feel malleable, as if reality itself was being reshaped by the purple light. The purple light began to scatter around him, swirling across the ground like an ethereal force. He looked up, his eyes cold. Want to leave? No way, he muttered, his voice filled with resolve. Mr. Jiang and the others sat in the heavy vehicle. as it jolted, struggling to move forward. The driver, confused, tried to steer but suddenly stopped. "What's wrong?" he muttered, his eyes widening. The right side of the vehicle seemed to sink into the ground. "The ground collapsed," he said, his voice tinged with disbelief. Han Feng watched from a distance, his mind racing. He analyzed the situation, his thoughts clear despite the chaos. "It seems that if the purple light is used too much, the range will shrink," he thought. "It's no longer able to sink both wheels." A man quickly emerged from the vehicle, his movements swift. Without warning, he hurled a bomb toward Han Feng. The explosion erupted in a flash, sending a shock wave through the air and scattering debris in all directions. The force of the blast rattled the ground beneath them, creating a cloud of dust and chaos. The scene shifted, and Han Feng slowly opened his eyes, a slight frown on his face. "It's so itchy," he muttered, rubbing his eyes. Then, with a blink, he sighed in relief. "But it's comfortable." As his vision cleared and he fully opened his eyes, he found himself staring directly at a sheep, its woolly face inches from his own. Han Feng realized he was lying on a soft red floor, surrounded by a scattering of sheets. The strange sensation of sheeps licking him made him jerk, his head up. To his bewilderment, he saw several sheep around him, their warm, wet tongues brushing against his skin, curiously nudging him. The Han Feng, still surprised by the sheep's attention, let out a relaxed sigh. "This is so cool and comfortable," he murmured with a smile. "Oh, keep going, don't stop. This feels good." He closed his eyes again, enjoying the unusual but oddly soothing sensation. Suddenly, when he opened his eyes again, he was met with a strange sight. A sheep with an unusually long tongue stared back at him. Before he could react, the sheep quickly wrapped its tongue around him, lifting him off the ground. With surprising strength, a bright green light covered his whole body. Because the green light recovers all kinds of damage to his body. The scene shifted back to the vehicle, where Han Feng lay unconscious on the floor. Slowly, his eyes fluttered open, revealing an unsettling green glow. He winced, his expression contorting with pain as he pushed himself up. His body was fully recovered in an instant. Jin Wen, driving the vehicle, glanced at the dashboard, his grip tightening on the wheel. "Fortunately, this car has a lot of horsepower," he said, his voice filled with relief. "Otherwise, we might not have been able to get out of there." Suddenly, a hand appeared from the side mirror, glowing with a bright red light, before the driver could react. It was Han Feng's red light warm power, but this time it was too intense like magma. He just pushed his hand on the armored vehicle and it was burned like a paper. Jin Woo, engulfed in a crimson glow, raised his gun toward Han Feng, his voice seething with rage. "You fucking monster!" Han Feng stood still, his expression vacant, his eyes shimmering with an eerie green light, filled with an unsettling artistry. Jin Woo, gripping the gun, jolted as a sudden shock coursed through his body. His eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at the weapon, now glowing with an intense red light. Han Feng grabbed his gun and used his red light power. Jin Woo pressed the trigger, but suddenly it exploded. "Wow. What is this?" he muttered, his voice filled with shock and confusion. Red light spread across the gun, pulsing and flickering like a living force. Jin Woo's grip trembled as the weapon grew unbearably hot, making it almost impossible to hold. Suddenly, with a sharp crack, the gun exploded into fragments. Red light surged around the entire vehicle, crackling with intense energy. Inside, Mr. Jiang's face twisted in alarm as he shouted, "Get out of the car, quickly!" This red light, though pulsing with a searing warmth like magma, after Jin Woo's clothes were burned by red light. The -2-degree cold spread a chilling frost over his body. When Jin Wan saw his twin brother in this situation, he was furious and jumped at Han Feng, gripping a metal rod tightly. His voice roared with rage. "You bastard!" Just as the strike came down, Han Feng's red light flared to life. The moment, his hand moved toward the man. The rod, upon impact, shattered into pieces as if struck by an overwhelming force. Mr. Jiang, eyes wide with disbelief at the scene unfolding, snapped to his fellow. "Quick! Go up and get someone to come down to help," he commanded urgently. Han Feng ignored Jin Wan and began moving toward the vehicle, his hands glowing with a deep purple light that seemed to soften everything in its path. The air around him rippled with an unsettling energy. One of the men, eyes wide with fear, hissed to his companion, "He's coming! Hit him to death!" Han Feng extended his hand toward the vehicle, and the purple light surged forward, surrounding the heavily armored vehicle in a soft, swirling glow. The vehicle seemed to weaken under the influence of the light, its structure bending and shifting as if it were made of clay. The people inside the vehicle began screaming in panic as the purple light intensified. "The car! The car's melting!" one of them yelled, voice trembling with fear. "Get out, quickly! Help! Help!" Their cries grew frantic as the vehicle's metal began to warp, and the entire structure seemed to dissolve under the relentless power of the purple light. They got stuck in the melting vehicle, and Han Feng stood there motionless, just like a killing machine. Suddenly, someone shoots at him. But luckily, the bullet just touches his face, and quickly, the green light covers his wound and heals. Men who fired at him desperately gripped a rod and a gun, and both looked directly at Han Feng. One of them, panic rising in his voice, shouted loudly, "No! No more bullets!" Han Feng's eyes suddenly glowed bright green, his entire demeanor shifting. He began moving toward them with slow, deliberate steps. Filled with terror, the two men turned and ran, shouting in panic, "Escape! Escape!" as they fled from his advancing form. Out of nowhere, a man in an army uniform appeared, rifle raised and firing at Han Feng. His voice cut through the chaos, barking, "Prioritize protecting Mr. Jiang's people!" The sharp crack of gunfire rang out as he tried to halt Han Feng's approach. A bearded man, witnessing the chaos unfold, silently approached from behind and struck the army-suited man. He paused, his mind racing, and muttered to himself, "What on earth is Mr. Jiang trying to do?" The scene shifted. The army guys began, firing more rapidly at Han Feng, desperation in their eyes as they unleashed a barrage of bullets. Without warning, Han Feng activated his purple light. He placed his hand on the ground and the light surged toward them, wrapping around their bodies like a living force. The army-suited man, now trapped within the swirling purple light, stared in confusion and fear. "What's going on?" he gasped. His voice strained as he tried to move, but the light melted the ground below and sucked them in. Quickly, Han Feng grabbed their guns, and when they tried to shoot him, with the red light, he blasted their guns in mid-air, melted down. The guns with purple light, and then forced the green light into them to form a large blade-like weapon. With the power of green and purple together, he can create a new form of metal that is stronger and sharper than before. Han Feng grabbed it, swinging it around with brutal precision, the combined power of the red and green lights plunging the area into a suffocating darkness. Their bodies were ripped apart, blood splattering in all directions. The battlefield fell eerily silent, save for the unsettling hum of the mixed lights that continued to pulse through the air. As the lights faded, the eerie silence lingered in the air. Han Feng stood amidst the carnage, his expression twisted into a cruel smile. His laughter echoed through the stillness, a chilling ha-ha, ha-ha. That seemed to fill the very space around him, unsettling in its coldness. Jin Wan, appearing from behind, swung a rod with all his strength, trying to slam it into Han Feng's head. But before that, Han Feng collapsed to the ground, his body crumpling as darkness took over, and he fell unconscious. Because he used too much power this time. Jin Wan stood over Han Feng, his face streaked with water droplets, a mix of sweat and fear. His voice trembled as he looked down at the fallen figure, shaking his head. "Oh, it's your own fault. Die, you monster," he muttered, his words filled with anger and despair. Just as the man raised the rod to strike, the bearded man appeared from the side, landing a powerful punch to his face. The force of the blow sent him crashing to the ground, his body crumpling as if struck by a hammer. He hit the ground hard, unable to recover from the impact. The bearded man knelt beside Han Feng, noticing he had fainted. He shook his head in disbelief and muttered, "This guy just acted like a madman. Is he out of control?" His voice was filled with concern, the situation too chaotic to fully comprehend. Suddenly, the bearded man snapped to attention, his senses sharpening as he heard a sound. He quickly regained his composure, his body moving with precision. He grabbed both the army-suited man and Han Feng, hauling them both into cover, hiding himself in the shadows, just in time to avoid being seen. Mr. Zhang approached with his guards, each carrying safety kits. His eyes scanned the surroundings, and with a stern voice, he commanded, "Everyone, be careful. Join up with those 3 soldiers first." He gestured for them to move quickly, aware of the danger still lingering in the air. As they moved forward, they came across one of their soldiers, dressed in an army suit, lying motionless on the ground. Blood pooled around him. Mr. Zhang stopped, his gaze fixed on the lifeless body. His voice was low, almost detached, as he said, "He is dead." They looked around, scanning the area with growing concern. One of the guards spoke up, his voice tense. "Where's the other soldier?" Another muttered, "If we don't find him soon, I think he's in big trouble." The tension in the air was palpable as they continued searching, their eyes darting nervously, knowing time was running out. They exchanged grim looks as they assessed the situation. One of them muttered Jin Wu froze to death. Only Jin Wan and a few others trapped in the car were still alive. A fellow turned to Mr. Jiang, his voice filled with uncertainty. "What should we do next?" Mr. Jiang, his face hard and expressionless, spoke with a tone of finality. "The soldiers are all dead, and we don't know where the base camp is," he said, his voice low. "The plan failed. Let's go home." He turned away, signaling the others to follow, the weight of defeat settling over them all. The scene shifted to a dark room, where a bucket was burning in the center. The flames flickered, casting strange shadows on the walls. A pile of books burned, their pages turning black as the fire spread. Suddenly, Han Feng shouted loudly, "There's a grenade!" His voice echoed through the room, filled with urgency and warning. Han Feng lay on the sofa, a blanket draped over him. His voice was weak and strained, barely audible as he looked around, confusion on his face. With a pained expression, he whispered, "Huh? I'm not dead? Where is this?" The bearded man lit a cigarette, the glow illuminating his face as he took a slow drag. He exhaled, then glanced at Han Feng, replying casually, "Back to normal?" Han Feng frowned, his voice low as he responded, "What's back to normal?" Han Feng's confusion deepened as he glanced around, his voice still weak but filled with curiosity. "Aren't we on the 2nd floor underground? How did we get here? Where are my injuries?" He looked down at himself, noticing the absence of any wounds, his brow furrowing in disbelief. The bearded man, clearly irritated, shot Han Feng a sharp look. "You don't even know it yourself. How can I know?" He paused for a moment before continuing, his tone shifting. "But I do have some idea about Mr. Jiang's plan." The bearded man turned his face toward Han Feng, his eyes cold and hard. Beside him was a soldier bound by ropes, blood pooling around him and even leaking from his mouth. With a dark smirk, he said, "He will tell you the details." Han Feng came close to listen to this man in combat uniform. "What they are planning?" the bearded man asked him. "You just said that you were sent by major forces to trade with Mr. Jiang. What was the deal?" The man said in a shaking voice, "Use, weapons and food, to exchange for the residents here." Han Feng's voice was loud at this time and said, "What will you do with the residents? The guy in the chair was trembling with fear and pain because he couldn't tell them the truth. But after losing so many teeth and blood, he has no choice but to tell them something. We need residents to build the new base. Han Feng narrowed his eyes and spoke coldly. In this situation, the population is not being reduced but is expanding. The man in the chair trembled with fear, his voice unsteady as he spoke. All of this, it's for rebuilding civilization, saving humanity. He swallowed hard. In short, what we do is not a bad thing. Before he could finish, the bearded man grabbed his hand and forcefully bent his middle finger downward. A loud crack filled the room, followed by a sharp scream. "What happens if you don't complete the task?" the bearded man demanded, his voice cold and unforgiving. The man groaned in pain, shaking. "The base will send more people," he said. The bearded man smirked. "Will someone with superpowers come?" he asked. The prisoner's eyes, red with fear, widened. "Superpowers? I don't understand," he whispered. Han Feng stood nearby, watching everything unfold. He thought to himself, judging from the attitude of this soldier, we can't rule out the possibility that there are skilled or powerful people in the base. Considering what the base has done so far, if someone like that exists, they are most likely an enemy. The man in the chair trembled with fear and pain. His mouth was filled with blood and several of his teeth had been broken. He was unconscious after this much torture. This Li Zhenghao is too cruel. Han Feng looked at the bearded man, who was readying his hands toward the prisoner. "There's no need to kill him now, right?" Han Feng asked. The bearded man scoffed. "Do you really believe that bullshit about saving people?" He then turned, pulling out a knife and pointing it toward Han Feng. "Don't have any illusions. It's just a new force. Who knows what they're planning to do? Now we either kill them or leave this place and find somewhere else to stay." Han Feng nodded slightly and said, "Well, I'll go back and discuss it with the others." Han Feng started moving, glancing back from the doorway to make sure everything was safe. He then walked down the stairs, his mind deep in thought. Li Zhenghao is a man of great potential. Who knows what the people on his side are capable of? If what the Special Forces soldier said is true, finding a base elsewhere might be the safest option. Han Feng reached the parking area where several cars were lined up. He crouched behind one of them, scanning his surroundings. I remember there seemed to be a few military jeeps and bulldozers down there. His eyes narrowed as he thought. Suddenly a sound came from behind. "In which district are you from?" Han Feng suddenly noticed a figure lurking in the shadows. His body tensed as he tried to get a clearer look. He muttered under his breath, "Someone is coming!" Han Feng quickly turned to look. All he could see was a pitch-black shadow, its form unclear. His heart pounded. Damn it! Is this a trap? As Han Feng sat there watching the shadow, he suddenly sensed someone behind him. A fist was coming straight for him, aiming to strike hard. In an instant, Han Feng reacted. He turned sharply, raising his hand just in time. A burst of purple and green light flashed from his palm. The force clashed against him, and Han Feng saw the attacker, a girl. Her punch landed directly on his glowing hand. As the punch landed, Han Feng felt nothing. It didn't hurt at all. He was surprised. I didn't expect the green and purple lights to appear together to have such an effect. As Han Feng was ready to strike back, a sudden voice came from behind. "Stop!" Brother Li, watching everything unfold, quickly stepped forward and said, "They are all acquaintances." Han Feng looked at the girl in shock. "Nurse Jin?" he asked. She widened her eyes in surprise. "Mr. Han?" she replied. They gathered around and started discussing the situation. Han Feng sighed and told them all the information he gathered from that guy. Then he said that's what happened. That's why I came back here, to find a way out of the community. Brother Li's face darkened as he said, "Mr. Jiang is such a beast. He actually traded his own neighbors for supplies," Nurse Jin replied. but it wouldn't be a bad thing if we could send our neighbors to a place where they could survive. Han Feng shook his head and said, helping to build the base was just what the soldiers claimed. If it was really a good thing, Zhang and the others would have run there for refuge long ago. Han Feng looked at them and asked, do we still need an armed escort? Han Feng pointed his torch toward the bulldozers and said, there are many things. We just can't explain. In short, we have no choice but to believe what they say, but we can't trust it completely either. We don't even know if they really have a base or not. He climbed up onto one of the bulldozers, looking into the distance. But what if someone really comes? Brother Li asked. That's all for the future. If we can't find a means of transportation, we won't be able to get out. Han Feng nodded and replied, please. Okay, I'll check those 2 cars and see if there are any usable tools inside. They all started moving in different directions. Nurse Jin said I'll go look for it in the back. Han Feng opened the bulldozer door and climbed inside to check. Looking around, he muttered, the keys were indeed taken out. Just then, he heard Brother Li's voice calling out urgently, Big brother, come down quickly! As they all looked inside, they were shocked by what they saw. Guns, rifles, and bombs stacked inside. Han Feng's eyes narrowed. Go ahead. So many weapons. He turned to Brother Li. Ask the middle school girl to come over and collect these. They'll be useful in the future. Brother Li nodded in agreement. That's a great idea. Han Feng stared at the scene, his mind racing. The car, it melted like this. A sudden thought struck him. Was it me who did this? Brother Li raised his voice and called out, Hey, little girl, come over here. Just as he spoke, they noticed a shadow in front of them. Han Feng narrowed his eyes and said, Brother Li, go ahead and take a look. They both moved forward toward the spot where the little girl and Nurse Jin were standing. Raising their torches, they shined the light on the wall. It looked like a large curtain hanging down. Han Feng frowned and asked, Why is this piece of cloth so big? Nurse Jin listened carefully and replied, There seems to be some noise behind it. The little girl stood there and opened her dimensional space to find something useful. Han Feng watched her for a moment, then asked, Do you have a strong flashlight? She nodded and replied, I have one. The little girl pulled it out from her dimensional space and turned on her flashlight, and its bright beam lit up the entire curtain. They all took their positions, ready to act. Brother Li took a deep breath and said, Count. 3, 2, 1. Let's pull it down together. As they all pulled down the curtain, a hidden passage was revealed behind it. The 4 of them stood, frozen in shock. After a brief silence, someone muttered, Now we can conclude that the base probably really exists. Han Feng looked inside the big tunnel and thought, I'm afraid these people are not simple people, as they were able to secretly dig such a large tunnel under the community. He was worried. At that moment he remembered the soldier confession. What if the soldier said is just the tip of the iceberg, then our neighborhood is not very safe? As the group made their way inside for a close-up inspection, Brother Li suddenly called out for them to come take a look at something with evident curiosity. In his eyes, he ran a hand over a pipe system attached to the wall within the entrance tunnel. But the moment Han Feng saw what Brother Li wanted to show everyone, he stated objectively that the system looks like a drainage pipe in the community. Han Feng also spots the little girl silently moving further within the tunnel, so he casually grabbed her by her hair. Hey, where do you think you're going? It's too dangerous. The little girl said nothing, but the moment Brother Li saw this, he was momentarily stunned. He told Han Feng to let go. Anyway, they couldn't just proceed further within the tunnel without adequate preparation, so the group decided to go back first and come back when they do, while later, with the convenience of the evil King's True Eyes alternate dimension, the group managed to grab all the necessary gear they could think about under such short notice. After a thorough check over, Han Feng was sure that together with the weapons they found earlier, they were enough. Oh, and before I forget, give me some food seeds and a piece of raw pork. The little girl managed to successfully take out the desired items, but as she hands a gun over to Brother Li, she noticed Han Feng was staring at her, so she asked if there was anything else he needed. No, not really. We're just going to explore the route this time. If there is any emergency, we will return in time inwardly. Han Feng was a bit pleased with her improvement. It seems the little girl had become more and more proficient in using her abilities and can now easily and accurately find items from her alternate space without any fuss. Before leaving, Han Feng made mention that the room they were currently in was quite secluded and no one would come there in a short time. The two should wait there for them till they get back. Also, he had reinforced the walls and doors, so even if they are discovered, they shouldn't be able to break through in a short time. On his way out with Brother Li, Han Feng reminded them that it wasn't safe to stay outside for a long time and suggested the need to go back inside. Nurse Zhan remained silent. As the little girl assured Han Feng not to worry, she, the evil king's true eye, will protect his apostle. Her response stunned the nurse. Zhàn was speechless. She stared at the little girl in disbelief. Meanwhile, Han Feng and Brother Li made their way down the flight of stairs, then down the underground parking lot, and finally at the entrance of the massive tunnel. Han Feng silently assessed their current predicament under the current circumstances. The threat they face was not only from Glass's man, but may also come from that tunnel. And since the community was no longer safe, why not try to find another survival point through that tunnel? After a brief survey, the two entered without a backward glance inside the frozen Andiri tunnel. Brother Li commenced that he initially thought that the tunnel would be warmer since it was underground, but it was just as cold as if they were up there. Han Feng agreed, and he uses a shovel to check the current state of the soil. He stated that the soil was all frozen, so it was only natural for the tunnel to be cold as, well, they don't know when the construction of the tunnel was even made. Brother Li insisted Han Feng take the lead, while he followed behind. 15 minutes later, they made their way up through a narrow path. Then 30 minutes later, they entered the city's underground sewage system spanning across the entire city and was connected in all directions. So, after another 30 minutes of exploration, they found a manhole with its ladder intact. The two made their way up the ladder, but as Les tried to open the cover, it didn't budge. He informed Han Feng that the manhole cover seemed to be pressed down by the snow, and there was no sign of looseness at all. They got back down and continued their exploration until they arrived at a junction with two passageways. Of course, this predicament prompted Brother Li to begin his usual story narration about a similar encounter. Once he said calmly, "I was wandering around underground and couldn't tell which direction I was going before he could continue." Han Feng immediately pointed to his right and explained the reason for his choice. Used the distribution of water pipes to conclude which side was more likely to be a path that led to a residential area above. Brother Li had no objection, so he went along, with Han Feng's choice, exploring. As they made their way deeper, he saw something a few distances away and called out to Han Feng to come take a look. Fortunately enough, the two happened to have found a map of the entire sewer distribution system, using the map to track their movements and current location. They found out that they were in the basement of a nearby community, and a gymnasium was just ahead. But in that moment, they heard the sound of a vehicle not far away. Han Feng told Brother Li to turn off his headlights. As he did, they moved closer in the direction of the sound of the heavy truck. A few distances away, the tires of the truck came to view as it sped up even faster. The scene then pans into full view, revealing two heavy convoys speeding through the large section of the sewage system. Their headlights illuminated the entire passageway, and the sounds of their engines echoed loudly as they sped past. Brother Li and Han Feng's hidden silhouettes. Brother Li noticed the direction in which the two convoys were heading and stated that it was in the direction of the Honing neighborhood. Han Feng agreed and added that it also looks like a military truck, probably an accomplice of the 3 soldiers who came to their neighborhood. So, in other words, these trucks are also used to transport personnel to repair that base. Maybe we can find out if we follow but it will be easy to be discovered if we follow them like this. Han Feng spoke in a calm tone as he turned on his headlight. Brother Li, feeling smug, stated that there was no need to follow those cars. He had a back door, so he led the way to another manhole. When they got there, he explained that a year ago there was an old lady in a residential complex in Seoul who fell into the sewer in their community and was rescued by him. Hearing this, Han Feng asked if he can still remember the place where it happened. A year ago so clearly? Of course I can, he replied confidently. I was a top student in high school because my memory was pretty good. Brother Li climbed the ladder, got to the top, tried and failed miserably to open the cover, which was almost frozen over. Han Feng lets out a regrettable sigh when he realized it couldn't be open. Then he suggested that Brother Li try again from the front. There may be a little deviation. So they went to the front and check again. He checked the first, it didn't open. The second was the same, and the third, well, it also yielded the same results. Han Feng even asked if it was okay after changing to several places. They were even in the same location. Anyway, on the fourth try in another location, the cover finally opened, making Brother Li tear up in relief. He silently removed the lid of the manhole, turned off his headlights, checked his surroundings, and came out the moment he did. Han Feng followed. The two were at the Seoul's community underground parking lot. You see, I've already said that I know everything about this place, Brother Li proudly stated as he helps Han Feng out of the manhole. He also made a mental note to later find the grandson of someone named Le Wang. Han Feng immediately signaled him to pipe down. They weren't alone in the basement. The two silently made their way towards the source of the sound they heard, hiding behind the frozen parked cars up ahead. Han Feng's eyes widened slightly when they encountered a dead body, and from the looks of it, it seems that there was a fight in this residence as well, and it hadn't been long since it happened. Apparently, they managed to get as close as possible, and from the view, they knew the group was creating another massive tunnel similar to the one at Han Fengand Li's residence. The homeowners seemed to be working under the threat of the two special soldiers, supervising them. One of the special soldiers cursed under his breath, stating that they were called there to guard the place they were before the tunnel was even completed, and apparently there was not even a decent meal in that crappy place. The other agreed, adding that the reason for their misfortune was because they were in the assault class. Han Feng heard their exchange and deduced that the people in this community were also most likely being controlled by these soldiers. Suddenly, the ground began to shake violently. Li pointed at the scene nearby and told Han Feng to take a look. One of the soldiers shouted for the homeowners torn away from there. The tunnel was about to be opened. Most of them managed to get away in time, but those on top of the scaffold couldn't and were blown away together with therox and sand like they were nothing. Anyway, as the dust amidst the fallen debris gradually began to settle, a glowing green eye came to view, and upon a closer look, a bulky soldier who happens to be a superhuman came to view, specifically a strengthening mutant. Brother Li and Han Feng were stunned by what they saw. Brother Li, barely holding back his fear, blurted out, "Yo, is this guy even human or some kind of ghost?" Meanwhile, Han Feng had a different thought. No wonder a huge tunnel suddenly appeared in their neighborhood without anyone noticing. He realized sticking around was a bad idea. If they got caught, they were done for. Just then, a massive giant came into view and casually asked the soldiers next to him, "Hey, where's my snacks?" One of them, clearly confused, replied, "The tunnel isn't even cleared yet. Where would we get snacks from?" As those words hit the giant's ears, his mood flipped. "I want food! Food!" he roared, slamming both hands into the ground. The impact was insane. The ground cracked apart, shaking everything around. Han Feng and Brother Li had already found a hiding spot behind a vehicle when they suddenly heard someone yell, "Hey, Fatso, cut it out!" They instantly saw an opportunity. Brother Li started crawling forward, ready to bolt, but Han Feng grabbed him and signaled him to stay low. Understanding the cue, they both crawled toward a flood tunnel under the highway. Brother Li lifted, the cover, and immediately the disgusting stench hit him like a punch to the face. He gagged and spat to the side, but there was no time to hesitate. They had to jump in. Just then, a voice rang out. "Quick! Catch those two!" Now they were full speed running through the underground tunnel, barely keeping ahead of their pursuers. Brother Lee, gasping for breath, apologized. "Sorry, man. I couldn't hold back there." Han Feng wasn't having it. "Shut up and run! That oversized monster is right behind us." And sure enough, the big fatso was closing in. There was still a bit of distance between them, but not enough. Out of nowhere, the giant slammed his hands into the ground again, shattering it into chunks. The terrain became a nightmare to run on. Every step sank into the unstable ground, threatening to trip them up. Brother Lee almost fell, but Han Feng grabbed him just in time. "Go! I'll hold him off!" Brother Lee hesitated for a second, then nodded and sprinted ahead. Han Feng turned back, taking a deep breath. "All right, it's now or never." Summoning a powerful purple light in both hands, he slammed them into the ground, covering it in his energy. The moment Big Fatso's massive foot touched it, he sank instantly, trapped like a fly in glue. The giant's eyes widened. "Wait, you're a power user too?" Han Feng ignored him and summoned a green light in his left hand. The moment it touched the ground, the energy surged through Fatso's leg, making him scream in pain. "Ah! My leg!" The giant slammed his hands on the ground in agony. Han Feng was working fast, using his green energy to restore the broken ground, sealing Fatso in place. But the giant wasn't done yet. "You bastard! I'll kill you!" Han Feng felt the energy shift. Fatso was trying to break free. He gritted his teeth. "Just a little more!" Meanwhile, Brother Lee, still running, suddenly spotted a thick metal rod. Without a second thought, he grabbed it and dashed back toward Han Feng. "I'm here to help, bro!" Before Han Feng could react, Brother Lee swung the rod with all his strength. Wham! Right into Fatso's head. Han Feng's jaw dropped. Did you just... Fatso, now visibly dizzy, stumbled and roared, "I'll kill you both!" But before he could do anything, he collapsed. Brother Lee didn't wait around. "Run!" They took off at full speed, not looking back. As they ran, Han Feng glared at Brother Lee. "Didn't I tell you to run away?" Brother Lee grinned. "Dude, you were fighting. How could I just leave you?" A few minutes later, they finally made it out before the entire structure caved in behind them. Dust filled the air, making them cough like crazy. Han Feng turned to Brother Lee. "You okay? You're not hurt, right?" Brother Lee wiped his face and smirked. "We actually managed to shake off that fat bastard. You think he's gonna pop out of the rubble again?" Han Feng looked back at the mess. "Not anytime soon, but we should get out of here. First, we need to figure out where we are." Brother Lee puffed out his chest. "No worries. My sense of direction is top tier. I memorized the underground map. Just follow me." He started jogging ahead. "This way. Hurry up, bro." 10 minutes. Later, after some walking, Brother Lee pointed ahead. "See? This is our community's sewer. We're definitely on the right track." 20 minutes later, Han Feng was starting to slow down, exhausted. Meanwhile, Brother Lee was still full of energy. "Look! There are more and more water pipes. That means our neighborhood is just ahead." 40 minutes in, Brother Lee started feeling something was off. "Wait a minute. We should have been there by now." Han Feng, now sitting on the yi, ground catching his breath, suddenly felt a breeze. He stood up. "The wind. It's coming from that direction." Brother Lee looked confused. "Where are you going?" Han Feng didn't answer. He just followed the wind. Brother Lee sighed and ran after him. A few minutes later, they reached a spot where the wind was blowing in from above. Han Feng pointed. "There's light up ahead. We can probably climb out from there." Brother Lee grinned. "Then what are we waiting for?" They started climbing, but the walls were slippery. At one point, Brother Lee almost lost his grip. Careful. Man, this thing's slippery! Finally, after what felt like forever, they reached the surface. Brother Li jumped into the snow. It's solid! Come down, Han Feng! As Han Feng joined him, he looked around and frowned. Wait a second. That building over there, isn't that the Dingfeng building? Brother Li followed his gaze. Han Feng sighed. Yeah. Dingfeng is the tallest building within 5 kilometers north of our neighborhood. Brother Li's face fell. Han Feng sighed again, shaking his head. We went in the wrong direction. Han Feng decided it was time to come up with a solid plan to make their journey easier. He used the snow and rocks around them to create a makeshift map, marking their current location and destination. Xingfu community is within the south. 3rd Ring Road of Hanchuan City, he explained, pointing to a small rock. Brother Li seemed confident that he had connections in Jingshan district who could provide them with food and shelter. But Han Feng's instincts told him otherwise. As they trudged through the deepening snow, the storm intensified, and Han Feng knew they needed to find shelter fast. Hours passed, and the freezing wind showed no mercy. Snow piled up around them, and their breaths came out in ragged gasps. Han Feng's face was numb, and his limbs were stiff. He glanced at the darkening sky and spoke through chattering teeth. The snow's getting worse. If we don't speed up, we might actually freeze to death. Just then, they stumbled upon 2 lifeless figures encased in ice. Brother Li's confidence faded, and he whispered, "This blizzard is way too strong. How about we rest for the night? At Jingshan Villa up ahead?" Han Feng agreed, and they pushed forward. As they approached Jingshan Villa, Han Feng noticed something odd. The area was clear of snow, despite the relentless storm. His instincts screamed warning signals as 2 figures emerged from the distance. Brother Li, oblivious to the danger, grinned and dashed forward, claiming they were his connections. Han Feng's eyes widened in alarm as he realized Brother Li's mistake. "Wait, this is your connection?" he asked, but it was too late. Brother Li had already approached the strangers, who turned out to be armed and hostile. Han Feng's instincts had been right all along. They were in grave danger. Han Feng's eyes narrowed as a sudden jolt ran through his body. He muttered under his breath, but before he could react, a harsh voice ordered him to freeze. A gun was trained on him, but Han Feng remained calm, his hand discreetly gripping his own firearm. The sound of a gunshot echoed through the air, and a bullet hit the ground mere inches from Han Feng's foot. The gunman warned him to behave. But Han Feng remained unfazed. Meanwhile, Brother Li was held at gunpoint, a sneer on their captor's face. "You're hiding something," another voice accused, suspicion lacing his tone. Han Feng calculated his options, but with Brother Li's life on the line, he knew they had to surrender. Cold metal snapped around their wrists, and they were officially taken hostage. Their captors sneered, but Han Feng remained calm, even flashing a smile. "Why not just let us go?" he asked, but the man just laughed. As they were led to their destination, Han Feng's mind whirled with possibilities. This location was valuable, with a clear view of the entire urban area. But how did their captors manage to build this place, especially with the entire city's power out? A sharp blow to the back of his head snapped Han Feng out of his thoughts. "What are you smirking at?" their captor growled. Han Feng rubbed the back of his head, unfazed. Their captors ordered them to dig, promising to release them once they finished. Han Feng raised an eyebrow, skeptical. As they began digging, Kaozi supervised them lazily, his expression shifting once his brother was out of sight. Hours passed, and Han Feng's sharp eyes caught something suspicious in the distance. He turned to Brother Li, whispering, "What's that over there?" Brother Li squinted, unsure what Han Feng had seen. Brother Li's eyes went wide as he took in the sight ahead. He whispered, "This is a corpse." Han Feng quickly covered his mouth, his face etched with urgency. Brother Li's fear was palpable as he asked, "What's going on here? Did they kill all these people?" Han Feng's expression turned thoughtful, his mind racing with possibilities. He leaned in, sharing his idea with Brother Li in hushed tones. Just then, Kaiozi intervened, his patience worn thin. He strode over. To them, barking, "Shut up!" Han Feng feigned nonchalance, spinning a tale of petty bickering. Brother Li played along, and Kaiozi, uninterested in their squabble, waved them off. As Kaiozi turned to leave, he issued a menacing warning, but his threat was short-lived. Before he could take another step, a shovel came crashing down, striking him with brutal force. Inside the house, Kaiozi's brother was completely unaware of the chaos unfolding outside. He sat by the warm fire, lost in his book, until a bright light suddenly blinded him. Before he could react, Han Feng had a gun pointed at him, and Brother Li stood beside him, smirking. The two brothers were quickly subdued, kneeling with grim expressions. Han Feng interrogated them, his tone sharp. "So you're here for debt collection?" Brother Li chimed in, asking about the bodies outside, but the brothers seemed genuinely shocked, denying any involvement. Han Feng sensed their unease and decided to let them go, but not before stripping them of their clothes and sending them out into the freezing snow. As they shivered and complained, Han Feng waved goodbye, his eyes glinting with a sinister light. Kaiozi and his brother trudged through the snow, shivering in their boxers. Han Feng called out, mocking them, "Go home and put on some clothes. Don't catch a cold," Kaiozi grumbled, his teeth chattering, while his brother sniffled, visibly uncomfortable. Han Feng turned away, his mind already focused on their next move. He wondered how long their delay had put them off track. They were supposed to just check the tunnel and return, but now, with this setback, he wasn't sure what the situation at the community was. All he hoped for was that it was still safe. Inside the community, Kim Ji-yeon anxiously looked around, her concern growing. They've been gone for so long. Could something have happened to them? The Chunibyu girl, Quiki, nonchalantly replied, "Don't worry. Han Feng is the apostle chosen by the evil king's true eye. He won't die so easily." Li Zhenghao let out a sigh, his expression serious. "Instead of worrying about Han, Feng, and Brother Li, we should focus on our own situation," he said, his voice laced with concern. "We're in grave danger here." He explained how an army had emerged from the hole, led by a terrifying individual with earth-controlling abilities. Jiang Zuiyu seemed to be in cahoots with this army, and the community was now under their control. Li Zhenghao's words painted a dire picture, and Quiki smirked. "It doesn't matter if it's real or fake anymore. The residents will choose obedience for survival." Kim Ji-yeon, however, was more concerned about Quiki's well-being, reminding her to cover herself with a blanket to avoid catching a cold. Li Zhenghao, meanwhile, stood by the window, lost in thought. The phrase, "choose obedience," echoed in his mind, transporting him back to his days as a wrestler. Memories of his coach's relentless shouting and the brutal punches he endured in the ring flooded his mind. His coach's words still lingered. "Get up and fight! You have no right to fall!" Li Zhenghao's eyes flashed with anger as he crushed the candy in his hand and tossed it onto the window. Snapping back to reality, Li Zhenghao turned to Kim Ji-yeon and Quiki, his expression grave. "We need to move to a new location. It's too dangerous to stay here." Just as he finished speaking, a loud knock shook the door, and dust blew in. The three of them froze, and Li Zhenghao muttered, "Have we been discovered so soon?" Quiki, oblivious to the danger, asked, "Is it time to eat?" A familiar voice growled from outside the door. "I smell the scent of living people. There are definitely people in here." Li Zhenghao's eyes narrowed, and his body tensed and got ready for what was to come. So, in another part of the Xingfu community, someone agreed to pack up the remaining items. Later, they reported back to their boss, giving them an update on the headcount and supplies. The boss was pleased and told them to load everything onto a vehicle to transport back to their base. The boss, who was enjoying a candy, then turned their attention to Jiang Shuiyu and asked about the 3 advanced team, members who were sent earlier. Jiang Shuiyu explained that they were killed by a man named Han Feng. The boss was surprised, wondering how someone could take out 3 Special Forces soldiers. Jiang Shuiyu tried to explain that Han Feng had some kind of superpower, mentioning something about a purple light that could melt metal. But before he could say more, the boss cut him off, telling him not to speak so recklessly about certain things. The boss got straight to the point, telling Jiang Shuiyu that he had no reason to lie and was essentially out of options. The boss stood up, patted Jiang Shuiyu on the shoulder, and assured him that he wouldn't casually kill his own people. He promised to send people to find Han Feng and confront him face-to-face to clear things up, but warned Jiang Shuiyu not to lie. Meanwhile, back at Kim Ji-yeon's place, the fatso claimed to have smelled living people inside. He demanded to know who among them was Han Feng. Li Jinghao quickly grabbed Quiki by the collar and pulled her close, warning the others to stay away from the fatso, sensing that something was off about him. Li Jinghao thought to himself that this guy wasn't human, emitting a beast-like aura and effortlessly destroying the reinforced door. With his years of combat experience, Liz Jinghao knew that this guy was a formidable opponent. He attempted to break the glass with his elbow, but it wouldn't budge, and he felt a surge of pain. Li Jinghao wondered why the glass was so hard, and Kiki explained that Han Feng had also reinforced the glass. Li Jinghao told Kim Ji-yeon and Kiki to escape while he held off the fatso. However, Kim Ji-yeon had already approached the fatso, trying to deceive him by saying there was no one named Han Feng there. The fatso seemed confused and was about to leave, but then he spotted a number on the wall, 1804, which made him remember that he wasn't wrong. The fatso's expression turned angry, and he shouted at everyone, threatening to kill them if Han Feng didn't come out. As he slammed his hands on the floor, a massive wave blew, knocking Liz Jinghao and the ladies off their feet. The window shutters also blew open, and Liz Jinghao saw an opportunity for the ladies to escape. Without hesitation, Liz Jinghao threw Kim Ji-yeon and Quiki out the window, telling them to run. Kim Ji-yeon managed to warn Li Jinghao about the fatso attacking him from behind, but Li Jinghao was too late to react. The fatso shouted, "I hate dishonest people the most," as he launched his attack. Meanwhile, Kim Ji-yeon and Quiki were still, in midair, descending from the high-story building. Elsewhere, Han Feng and Brother Li were having the time of their lives, skating through the snowy landscape. They screamed with excitement, enjoying the thrill of the ride. Han Feng complimented Brother Li on his ingenuity in creating skis, and Brother Li smiled, revealing that he used to take clients skiing when he handled billion-dollar deals. Faperku. At the Xingfu community, Han Feng and Brother Li had just arrived, searching for a window to sneak in. Meanwhile, Kim Ji-yeon and Quiki were descending from the sky thanks to Quiki's quick thinking in releasing a pile of folded clothes to break their fall. As soon as they landed safely, Han Feng rushed over to ask if they were all right and what had happened. Kim Ji-yeon explained that a monster had suddenly broken into the room, trying to catch Han Feng. Just then, Quiki interrupted, shouting that the monster was approaching. Han Feng was confused, but Kim Ji-yeon quickly grabbed him and dragged him along, warning that the monster was near. The fatso, who was approaching, jealously exclaimed that he was the good baby boy and that Kim Ji-yeon was the monster. Quiki urged Kim Ji-yeon to run, calling her Nurse Kim. Kim Ji-yeon replied that Quiki and the others should run for themselves. Quiki then turned to Han Feng, pleading with him to think of something to deal with the fatso. Brother Li added his encouragement, but Han Feng was unsure of what to do. Just then, the fatso shouted that he was hungry and wanted snacks. Han Feng suddenly had an idea. He rummaged through his pocket and produced a sack of soybeans. With a mischievous glint in his eye, Han Feng offered the soybeans to the fatso, saying, "Baby boy, I'll give you snacks." The fatso eagerly opened his mouth, and Han Feng poured the soybeans in. The fatso was delighted finding the soybeans. Yummy. However, Han Feng's plan was not entirely altruistic. The soybeans began to sprout and grow inside Fatso's mouth, causing him to scream in agony. Han Feng muttered to himself, apologizing for the poor hospitality. Fatso was still screaming like a man on fire. Then out of nowhere, he yanked the soybeans growing out of his mouth with his bare hands. Blood went everywhere, and his mouth was all messed up. He roared, "Bastard! I'll turn you into mincemeat!" But Han Feng and the crew, already gone. Poof, out of there. Right after that, some of Fatso's guys rolled in. One of the commanders barked orders like he was in a war movie. "First squad, chase them down. Everyone else, secure the area." The squad didn't waste time. Hit him back with a sharp, "Yes, sir." Then their big boss arrived, strutting in all serious. He was like, "In this freezing weather, they couldn't have gotten far. They're probably hiding in some building." He turned to Fatso and went, "Damn, what happened to your face?" Fatso, still holding his bloody mouth, explained how he ate the beans Han Feng tossed at him, and the damn thing started growing in his mouth like magic plants. The boss actually found that kind of cool. He even mumbled something like, if we had that kind of tech, we could fix this food shortage problem." Then he turned and yelled, "Bring down that prisoner we caught upstairs." Someone snapped back, "Roger that, Captain." Meanwhile, somewhere in Qingfu community, Han Feng and the others were holed up in a building. Han Feng looked around and asked, "Wait, where's Li Zhenghao?" Kim Jion answered, "Right after you left, soldiers showed up. Zhang Shuiyu and the other residents all teamed up with them. They must have ratted us out and sent that freak to find him," she continued, saying that the monster busted down the reinforced door like it was made of paper. Han Feng was shocked, like, "Wait, hold up. Even a bomb couldn't blow that thing open." But Kim said Li Zhenghao stayed back to buy them time and hold off the soldiers. Then Quiki cut in, no emotion, just facts, saying, "Dead people can't be saved. We need to move. He sacrificed himself." Kim wasn't having it. She shouted, "No way! We can't just leave him!" Even Kiki ended up agreeing, saying they had to go back. Brother Li joined in too, saying, "We don't leave our brothers behind." Han Feng, thinking hard, was like, "It's not like I don't want to go back. But if we face Fatso again, it'll be a miracle if we make it out alive." Back at the military base, someone said, "Captain, we've got the guy." Then the captain grabbed a mic and started broadcasting. "Mr. Han Feng, we found you're injured. Buddy, he's alive. We've patched him up. I know you're listening. No tricks this time. It was all a misunderstanding." Kim Ji-yeon's eyes lit up, and she was about to run outside. But Han Feng and Brother Li grabbed her like, "Whoa, chill. It's a trap." She didn't care, though. She just kept yelling, "He's alive, I have to go!" Brother Li was stunned. Like, why is this woman so strong? Quiki, hiding nearby, was spying on the captain and said, "She's not wrong. That really is the old man." Then the captain tried to bait them harder, talking through the mic. Again. "Han Feng, we could use someone like you. Join us and your whole fam, wife, kids, bros, they all get top-class treatment." That got everyone looking at Han Feng like, "Wait, you got a wife and kids?" Han Feng, deadpan, just said, "Nope." Back to the base, the captain looked at Li Zhenghao and said, "Your buddy abandoned you." But Li just smiled and went, "Actually, I've only known him for a few days." The captain flipped out. "A few days? And you're risking your life for his girl and kid? You made me think you were tight with him." Then he decked Li Zhenghao right in the face, but Li stayed cool and replied, "Those two aren't his, wife or kid either. I just met them too." That sent the captain into rage mode. He kicked Li hard into the snow and yelled, "Call Han Feng, why die for strangers? If it's women you want, we've got plenty at the base." Funny twist, though. Now Kim and Brother Lee were the ones physically dragging Han Feng back like he was trying to run into a burning building for Wi-Fi. Han Feng, eyes glazed like he just saw heaven, mumbled, "I mean, that deal doesn't sound too bad." Brother Lee smacked him so hard even his ancestors blinked. "Focus, bro. Don't let lust turn your brain into soup." Kim practically screeched, "He's lying! That's not a deal, that's a death wish with a coupon." Queeky, off to the side, muttered to herself, "Ugh, none of these people are reliable." She already had a rescue plan in mind and asked if anyone was in. Everyone blinked, confused, like, "Wait, how are we gonna save him?" Back with the captain, he grabbed Li Zhenghao by the bandaged hand and mocked him. "You haven't said a word. What, cat got your tongue? Or do I just give off evil villain vibes?" Li fired back, "With the way things are, there's no way you can feed so many people. So what's your real plan?" The captain smiled and replied, "Saving people is our mission. You selfish guys don't get it. Li Zhenghao wasn't buying it." "Cut the crap! You're lying!" The captain yanked his head back by the hair and leaned in. "You're about to die, so I'll tell you anyway. In a city like this, what's the most common animal? So many that even if you wanted, you couldn't eat them all?" Li Zhenghao connected the dots. "So, you're gathering residents to..." But before he could finish, the captain stuffed a gun into his mouth and whispered, "The living eat food. The dead become food." Just as he was about to pull the trigger, something dropped from the sky. Everyone looked up. Candy, booze, food, even fresh veggies and meat were falling. One guy shouted, "It's rice! Real rice! I haven't seen this since before the freeze!" People lost it, running to grab whatever they could. Fatso yelled, "It's all mine, losers!" Another guy shouted, "Nobody better touch my food!" But the captain snapped them out of it by firing a shot into the sky. "Get your head straight! Focus! If you slack now, they'll sneak attack us!" Then he heard a noise. Suddenly, Han Feng came flying in, driving a heavy vehicle like a madman and yelling, "All right, let's do this! Time to fight!" So a while ago, this whole wild plan was actually cooked up by Queeky. She came up with the idea to drop food from above like bait to attract the hungry soldiers. Basically, treat them like pigeons. Han Feng explained it like, "Oh, so we're just throwing supplies from the sky to cause chaos?" And Queeky was like, "Yup, then you, Mr. Iron Giant, burst through, grabbed the guy we lost, and boom, we all escaped to a new home." Han Feng got it right away. He was like, "So basically, you want me to crash into the middle of the crowd, save Li Zhenghao, pick y'all up, and zoom off together?" Meanwhile, Kim Ji-on was just standing there like, "Why am I the only one who doesn't understand any of this?" Brother Lee thought it was genius, though. Then Kiki was like, "All right, folks, the evil eye said it's go time. Let's roll." But Han Feng stopped her real quick like, "Hold up. Forget how ridiculous your plan sounds, or if the soldiers would even care about the food. I've got one simple question. Where the hell am I supposed to find a vehicle?" And Queeky was all smug like, "Oh, don't worry, I once found an Iron Giant thingy." Fast forward to the present, Han Feng shows up like, "Yo, Queeky, is this thing the vehicle you were talking about? This is a bulldozer." But Loki, he was kinda hyped because driving it felt pretty sick. Next thing you know, this dude is flying in out of nowhere like a maniac, yelling, "Let's go! Time to fight!" As soon as he lands, he swings that bulldozer left and just starts bulldozing soldiers like garbage bags. People were screaming, some even yelling stuff like, "Ah, my rice!" It was madness. Their captain freaked out and screamed at this huge guy called Fatso to stop Han Feng. Fatso spreads his arms like some anime villain and shouts, "Nobody's stronger than me!" And then boom, gets scooped up like trash like the rest. Han Feng couldn't stop laughing, doing that YouTuber laugh like, "Ha, bro, really? You want to compare your muscles to a machine?" Then Han Feng stepped on the gas, picked up more speed, and flung Fatso away like he weighed nothing. That man landed hard in the snow. The captain realized he was the only one left and tried threatening Han Feng, yelling, "Stop or Li Zhenghao dies!" But Han Feng just smirked inside the bulldozer and mumbled, "Huh? Can't hear you over the sound of your L." He floored it straight toward the captain, who dove out of the way screaming, "Fine! You win this round!" Meanwhile, Li Zhenghao's still screaming in the back, and Han Feng's like, "Hold tight, bro, we're speeding up." They slide toward a building. Li's like, "Where the hell are you going?" And Han Feng swerves like a boss, saying, "Chill, I'm here to pick." "You up?" Li jumps onto the bulldozer, grabs Quiki's hand like they're in some action movie, and Kim Ji-yeon is barely hanging onto the edge, trying not to fall. Then, bam! Gunfire rains down on them. Bullets hit the bulldozer hard, and Brother Li covers Quiki, yelling, "Han Feng, the military's right behind us." Han Feng hits the gas again, and the captain's yelling, "Don't let them escape! Fire! Fire!" But one of his drivers is like, Sir, the snow's too thick, we can't even speed up." The captain starts losing it, like, "Where'd they even get a bulldozer that big? Even our base doesn't have this kind of stuff." His driver's like, "I think that's our advanced team's vehicle." And before he could even react, boom! A giant metal cylinder falls right on their car. Then another one. They're stuck, surrounded by random junk falling from the sky. Like, where is all this even coming from? Meanwhile, Quiki's over there shrinking her magic ball and going full dramatic mode like, "Despair, this is the power of the evil king's true eye." Then she just lets out a huge sneeze. Achoo! Hours later, Han Feng is still behind the wheel, driving through snowy roads. Everyone's inside the bulldozer, chilling. Kiki's passed out on top of Han Feng's head, and he's like, "Ugh, girl, your snot is getting all over me." She just groans and says, "It's frozen. I can't suck it back in." Li Zhenghao thanks everyone for saving his butt. Brother Li gets all excited and asks Han Feng to let him drive the bulldozer too. Kim Ji-yeon's like, "Okay, but where are we even going now?" Han Feng, tired and still with frozen snot on his head, says, "Me and Bro Li found this cozy villa on a hillside. We're thinking of hiding out there. Thoughts?" Everyone's chill with it. Zhenghao's like, "You decide." Quiki's like, "Sounds good." Brother Li goes, "I trust little bro." But then Kim Ji-yeon notices an alert on the dashboard and says, "Guys, I think we're out of gas." They all yell, "What?" But Han Feng calmly turns to Quiki and asks, "Hey, evil king, you got any oil?" And she's like, "Yep." She whips out some bottles, but plot twist, it's cooking oil. Han Feng just loses it like, "I didn't mean cooking oil. I meant fuel for the engine." So Han Feng was like, "Didn't I tell you to bring out the fuel I stored? Not whatever this is." And Quiki, with that guilty look, went, "Oh!" Then started fumbling with her magic ball. But nope, she couldn't find the fuel. Han Feng stared at her like, "What's going on? I thought you could pull out anything from that ball like magic?" Then Quiki suddenly remembered. She might have accidentally tossed everything out. Not just the fuel, but the fridge, the sofa, and... yep, the generator too. Everyone just turned and looked at her like they were ready to strangle her on the spot. You could feel the silent judgment in the air. But before they could roast her too hard, Han Feng completely lost it. Dude was practically losing his mind, yelling like, "How do you throw away an entire year's worth of fuel? Are you trying to kill us?" Quiki tried to fix things by saying there might still be some natural gas left. Han Feng gave her this skeptical look and said, "If you can start the car with that, I'll literally call you my dad." She giggled a bit and pulled out a bunch of random junk like, "Hey, look! At least these are still here." Han Feng picked up one item, looked at it, and straight up said, "What am I supposed to do with this trash?" But right then, a light bulb went off in his head. He remembered how those weird plants turned into a coal-like thing that could burn. So maybe that black slimy goo that meat turned into could burn too. Without wasting time, he told Quiki to grab him an iron bucket and a chunk of meat. She came back pretty quick with both. Then Han Feng got serious. He summoned his green light and held the meat in both hands. In his head, he's thinking, "Okay, Making the meat grow is kind of tricky. Everyone gathered around, watching like he was about to pull off some magic show. And sure enough, about an hour later, he did it. The bucket was full of black goo. He smirked to himself, thinking how messing things up on purpose is way easier than getting it right. Meanwhile, everyone else had their noses covered like, "Yo, this stuff reeks." Li Zhenghao finally asked, "What is that stuff? It's so sticky and gross." But Han Feng ignored him and started digging in his coat like he was about to pull out a secret weapon. A few seconds later, boom, he whipped out a lighter. With a grin, he lit it and said, "Let's run a little test." He brought the flame close to the edge of the black goo, and bam! It caught fire. He laughed like a madman. "It burns! Ha 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 ha!" Li Zhenghao, still shocked, asked, "Wait, you're thinking of using this as fuel?" Han Feng just shrugged. "Well, what else can we do? If this doesn't work, we're gonna have to walk." And no one liked the idea of walking through that snowy hell. So Han Feng poured the goo into the tractor. First 2 tries didn't work, but on the 3rd turn of the key, vroom! The thing roared to life. Everyone started cheering like, "No way, it actually worked!" But Han Feng, being the chill guy he is, told them to keep the hype down. Li Zhenghao was still in shock, like, what else is this guy hiding? So a few hours passed, and they were still driving through the snowy roads. The wind was crazy, and it looked like the world was frozen over. Queequeg suddenly turned to Kim Ji-eun and asked, "You want snacks?" Ji-eun's eyes lit up. "Yes, please. I've been dying for some." Queequeg handed her something, and even Li Zhenghao joined in, asking for a share. He gave her a weird look and asked, "Seriously, how much stuff do you have in that magic ball of yours?" Then it hit him. "Wait, didn't the supermarket go completely empty overnight? Don't tell me you did that." And she just nodded like it was no big deal. Before they could grill her more, Han Feng called out, "Yo, that hillside villa I mentioned earlier, it's right up ahead." Everyone sat up, eyes wide. Kim Ji-eun was like, "Finally, we're here." Brother Li hyped it up too. "Go for it, Han Feng!" Han Feng slammed his foot down to charge up the hill, and boom, engine blew up. Smoke. Dead silence. Han Feng sighed. "Engine's dead." The whole crew was stunned. No one said a word, just silence. Han Feng cursed under his breath. So close, damn it. And that's how they ended up walking again, wind blasting in their faces, snow swirling around them. Along the way, they even passed by 2 frozen dudes. Creepy. But after what felt like forever, they finally reached the villa. Han Feng was shivering like mad. Brother Li looked around and was like, "We made it!" Everyone else just screamed in relief. Their souls basically reloaded. Later on, they lit up a small heater, and finally, warmth. You could see life return to their faces. Han Feng was feeling a little better, and Brother Li, all emotional, muttered something like, "Man, I've lived a full life now." Li Zhenghao then pointed out how smart it was to settle here. The wind blew the snow downhill, so it didn't pile up around the house. He was even asking if they planned to make it a long-term base. Easy to defend, hard to reach, but no one was paying him any attention. Brother Li and Kim Ji-eun were busy moving a sofa while Queequeg was directing them like a boss. Kim suggested a different spot for the couch. Meanwhile, Han Feng said he'd go start the generator. Queequeg pulled out a TV from her magic ball, and Kim carried it to where she was told. Brother Li was geeking out over a 9th Gen XPS game console like he'd just seen treasure. Li Zhenghao just sighed like, "Why am I even here?" Outside, Han Feng muttered to himself, thinking about how lucky they were. If the last people here hadn't left a generator and some fuel, they would have been totally screwed. He hit the switch, and boom, the lights came on. He walked back in, asking if anyone was hungry and wanted to eat big. Queequeg, of course, said she wanted a bath first and asked him how to use the water heater. Then Kim Ji-yeon hesitated a bit, saying she didn't feel like bathing, but also hadn't had one since the blizzard started. That's when Han Feng's brain went wild, imagining her in the shower. He didn't even hide it, just quickly agreed to set it up for them. So Han Feng heads outside to check the water pipes, dragging Queequeg along with him. When they get there, everything's buried in frozen snow. Queequeg mumbles, "How the hell do you even use this water heater?" Han Feng looks around and goes, "Yeah, the pipes are frozen and busted. This water heater's already a goner." Then he turns back around and says, "Let's go check out the bathroom instead." A few minutes later, they're in the bathroom. Han Feng takes one look and says, "Just like I thought. The pipes in here are also busted, but hey, as long as we've got a bathtub, we're still good." Queequeg, looking around, mutters, "This side's broken too." After checking things out a bit, they set up the heater. Han Feng goes, "All right, let's go dig up some snow and dump it in the tub. Then we'll bring out the big guns." Later, Queequeg pops up like a kid and says, "Ta-da! High-power heating rod," all proud of herself. They stick the rod into the tub and slowly the snow starts melting. The water's heating up, kinda. Han Feng frowns, dips his hand in and goes, "Doesn't it feel like it's heating up way too slow?" Queequeg nods. "Yeah, painfully slow." Han Feng dips both hands in again, complaining, "Still feels like ice water. How long is this gonna take?" An hour later, he tries the water again. The second he touches it, zap! He jerks back, yelling, "Shit! It's leaking electricity!" His hands glowing slightly red. "Wait, did my hand just light up?" Queequeg dips her hand in and goes, "It's hot now." Han Feng stares at her. "Wait, how? You think that red glow thing did something?" He looks at his hand like it's some kind of science experiment. Anyway, now the water's warm, the bathroom's all nice and clean. It's bath time. Kim Ji-yeon walks in, stripping off her clothes like, "Finally, time for a bath." Queequeg's already naked, giggling and asking, "Aren't you excited?" Kim goes, "Hell yeah, I'm fucking excited." Then she summons the evil eye and pulls out a bunch of stuff like she's doing a product demo. "I brought bath salts. Kim, what scent you want? I've got all the brands. Shampoo, conditioner, body wash, skin oil, moisturizers, you name it. Pick one." Kim picks her favorites and the two of them hop in the tub. Kim pulls Queequeg close, hugs her chest to face, and says, "I really like you, you know." Queequeg grins, and they both sigh like, "Ah," living their best lives in the warm water. Out of nowhere, Kim blurts, "You're so tiny and cute, Queequeg." Queequeg pulls away, frowning. "Quit treating me like a kid. I'm 21, you know." Kim laughs, not taking her seriously. "Only 21? That's still a kid." Then suddenly stops, eyes wide. "Wait, what? 21? She backs away like Queequeg just told her she's a vampire. Queequeg goes, "Relax. The evil eye keeps me young forever." Kim stares. "Eternally young?" Queequeg's like, "I'm just messing with you. I just have a baby face. That's it. Don't overthink it." Meanwhile, outside the door, Han Feng is eavesdropping with the most WTF expression ever in his head. That cringy cosplayer is actually 21. Seriously? Then Brother Lee walks up, waving. "Yo, little bro, what you doing creeping by the bathroom? Come play some games." Han Feng panics and quickly turns away, coughing like he wasn't, caught red-handed. Brother Lee squints at him. "You weren't trying to peek at the girls, were you?" Han Feng lies through his teeth. "Nope, just passing by." Then Brother Lee goes all weird. "Tsk, tsk, little bro, that's not how a real man does it. A real man watches openly. Allow big bro to demonstrate." He starts heading for the door, but Han Feng yanks him back. "Nope, no demonstrations. Let's just go play games, yeah? Like, now." So they head to the living room and grab the controllers. Brother Lee yells, "Cover me, little bro." Han Feng's like, I'm coming! Take this, demon scum! Die!" Li Zhenghao, chilling behind them, says, "How can you guys play games in a situation like this?" Han Feng goes, "Why not? We've got food, drinks, electricity. Might as well enjoy it." Brother Li adds, "You want to join us, old bro?" Han Feng drops a bomb. "We're planning to stay here long term. Gotta find ways to kill boredom or we'll go nuts. What about you, uncle? You staying with us or heading out to find your people?" Li Zhenghao just frowns and sighs. Han Feng leans back. "Look, I know you're not just some random guy, but as long as you don't drag us into your mess, you're welcome to stay." Brother Li yells, "Han Feng, quit chatting! I'm dying here!" Han Feng panics again. "Hold up! I'm coming to save you!" Then Li Zhenghao decides to drop the truth. "Actually, I'm here to investigate ability users. I think you—" Han Feng cuts him off immediately. "Nope, don't say it. I told you not to involve us. Just don't." Li Zhenghao sighs. Han Feng sighs too. Brother Li's still yelling, "Help me, little bro! Save me!" Li Zhenghao finally gives up. "Fine, once my arm's better, I'll leave, and I won't tell anyone about this, so don't worry." Brother Li groans, "Han Feng, be serious, you got me killed!" Han Feng grins, Sorry. I'll be focused next round." Right then, Kim and Queeky walk out, all clean and glowing. "We're done bathing. You guys gonna wash up or what?" Brother Li turns to Han Feng like, "Let's bathe together. Save water." Han Feng stares at him. "No thanks, I'm not bathing with another dude." Cut 2. Han Feng is now in the bath with Brother Li anyway. Han Feng goes, "Don't you think the bathwater smells kinda fragrant?" Brother Li shrugs. "Huh? Oh, I just farted a couple times." Han Feng chuckles. Later that night, everyone eats a long overdue big meal and finally gets some quality sleep. The next few days, Han Feng upgrades the villa, reinforcing walls, roof, and fences using his green and purple power combo. He even turns a top-floor room into a sauna so he can chill while keeping an eye on the mountain path. Then, he spots someone staggering up the mountain, and the person collapses halfway. They rush out, bring the guy inside, and lay him on the couch. He's unconscious. Han Feng asks Brother Li, "You sure you know this guy?" Brother Li nods. "Yeah, that's Brother Chang from Boss Liu's crew. You've met him, right?" Han Feng scratches his head. "Boss Liu? Which one again?" "Brother," Li reminds him. "The one who helped us get that gun." "Oh, that Boss Liu." A few minutes later, the guy wakes up groggy. "Am I alive? Where the hell am I?" Brother Li smiles. "Hey, you're awake, Brother Chang." Chang blinks. "Li Dazui, what are you doing here?" Brother Li calms him down. Then Chang spots Han Feng and goes, "You, the kid who bought the gun." Han Feng waves. "Hey, I'm Han Feng." After he settles down, they gather around and ask what happened. Chang sighs. "A few days ago, our place got hit by soldiers. A lot of our guys were either killed or injured. Even Boss Liu." Brother Li jumps up. "Wait, what happened to Boss Liu? What the hell's going on?" So, Brother Chang started explaining how Boss Liu managed to save a ton of people, thanks to Han Feng's earlier warning. Apparently, Boss Liu had stockpiled supplies like a doomsday prepper, and not only did they survive, they even rescued hundreds of residents. But things took a dark turn. A group of rogue soldiers popped up out of nowhere, started robbing and murdering like it was just another Tuesday. To protect the rest, Boss Liu led a desperate counterattack. Lots of their men were killed or injured, and Boss Liu himself got shot in the leg and was captured. Eventually, the survivors split up with a plan to regroup at a safe house, a villa in the same estate where Han Feng lives. Han Feng, hearing all this, thought, so that's why Chang was at the foot of the mountain. He came looking for the others. Brother Li, barely holding his excitement, grabbed Chang and blurted, "Is Boss Liu still alive?" Chang, trying to stay calm, was like, "I think so. The way they captured him, they definitely wanted him alive." Li let out a heavy sigh, like someone who just found out their phone wasn't actually lost. He got all sentimental, saying, if not for Boss Liu, he'd be long dead. Without missing a beat, he grabbed Chang's arm and shouted, "Then take me to him! Let's go save Boss Liu." but Chang yanked his arm back like, "Bro, have you lost it? Do you even know how many armed men they have? What are we gonna do? Walk in with a stick and hope for the best?" Lee, in full anime protagonist mode, declared, "As long as there's even a tiny shred of hope, I won't give up. I, Lee Ziyi, will fight beside you." Chang mumbled under his breath, "This guy's clearly trying to get us both killed." Then Li Zhenghao, who'd been listening quietly this whole time, finally stepped in. "Wait, are you talking about Boss Liu from Jui Hall?" Everyone turned, shocked. Brother Li asked, "You know him?" Li Zhenghao nodded. Turns out he used to fight in underground boxing rings until Boss Liu gave him a second chance. "If you're rescuing him, count me in," he said, and ripped off the bandage on his hand like a total badass. The stick he used for support even clattered dramatically to the ground. Chiang got a good look at him and burst out laughing. "Wait a minute! You're the Freezied Wild Dog? The legendary underground boxer with 30 straight wins?" Han Feng just about lost it. "Pfft! Freezied Wild Dog? That's your nickname?" Li Zhenghao sighed. "Yeah, that was from back in the day. Please don't bring it up." Brother Ali was hyped. "If the Freezied Wild Dog is with us, we can definitely—" "Say, Boss Liu, stop calling me that!" Zhenghao snapped. All right. Big Brother Li Zhenghao," Chiang said, shaking his hand. Brother Li chimed in too. "You're a true bro." Meanwhile, Han Feng sat quietly thinking, is Boss Liu really that righteous? Why does everyone want to risk their lives for him? Should I go too? But then again, it's way too dangerous. I can't die yet. He told them, "Yeah, I'm being hunted too, so I'll sit this one out. But I can give you supplies to help." Then he pulled Brother Li and Li Zhenghao aside, saying he had something important to tell them, mostly about keeping his identity and the Chunabu girl's powers a secret. Later, Han Feng served Chiang some noodles. He even thought, better not make the food too good or he'll start getting suspicious. Chiang slurped like it was his last meal. "Damn, thanks, bro." He showed him to a room to rest, and 2 days later, Han Feng had already armed them with gear and weapons. Chiang was amazed. "Han Feng, you really did prepare for this disaster, huh? You even have this many supplies." Han Feng nodded but asked, "Why so many cigarettes, though?" Chiang smirked. "Money's worthless now. Cigarettes are the new currency." Soon the group was ready to move, all suited up in snow gear, snowboards, the whole 9 yards. Brother Li told Han Feng they'd be back. Zheng Hao waved. Han Feng smiled and waved back. Then Chiang, before leaving, gave a small bow. "Brother Han, sister-in-law, our Juyi Hall will definitely repay your kindness." Kim Ji-yoen, confused, turned to Han Feng. "Wait, do you have a wife?" "No." "Then why did he call someone sister-in-law?" Kiki popped in casually. "He meant you." Kim's brain blue-screened. "Huh? No, he's got it wrong. You better clear that up next time." Han Feng asked, "What's with you? Why are you muttering to yourself?" Kiki just shrugged. "No idea." Fast forward a few days later, Han Feng installed surveillance cameras all around the villa and the mountain path to keep tabs on everything. Life became calm again, until disaster struck. Han Feng was lounging on the sofa playing video games when Kim Ji-yoen rushed in, waving a kitchen knife. "Han Feng, it's bad." "What happened?" he asked. It's the last Napa cabbage." Cut to them all standing in the kitchen, looking down at a sad cabbage cut in half. Han Feng grabbed Kiki. "How many fruits and vegetables do we have left?" she confidently said. "A lot." She brought them all out, and it was not a lot. "You call this a lot?" Han Feng snapped. "Didn't you raid an entire supermarket?" "I don't like veggies, okay? I just grabbed a few." Kim picked up a trolley full of cucumbers. "Then why are there so many cucumbers?" Kiki. "I like cucumbers." Han Feng sighed. "We've been burning through our stock without restocking. If this keeps up, we'll starve." In his head, he thought, "I can only generate wheat, soybeans, broccoli, and meat. Everything else is failing. We're down to 1 cabbage." He picked up the cabbage like it was sacred. Kim said, "Our future happiness depends on you." So Han Feng sat in the middle of his fruit collection, tore off a chunk of the cabbage, and activated his green light power hoping to clone it. It crumbled to dust. He tried again, still failed. Then he tried radish, then chili peppers, then potatoes. Still nothing. Just failure after failure. He sighed like a defeated farmer. "Why is this happening?" Kim came over concerned. "Are you okay?" "I'm afraid we won't have any vegetables soon. We're doomed," Queeky shrugged. "There's still cucumbers and vitamin pills. We won't die." Han Feng glared at her like she suggested eating rocks. Then Kim had an idea. "Why don't we grow vegetables ourselves?" Han Feng blinked. "Grow them. It's freezing outside," Kim explained. "I used to grow veggies year-round on my balcony. All we need is some racks, soil, nutrient solution, and LED grow lights." Han Feng was impressed. "Nurse Jin, you're secretly a gardening pro?" Queeky asked. "Where do we even get those now?" Han Feng and Kim turned to her. "You don't have them?" A few minutes later, Han Feng dug a shovel into the icy, snow-covered ground outside. Kim Gon was right beside him, holding her own shovel. Han Feng muttered, "Damn it! The soil's completely frozen. We can't dig at all." Kim Gon smirked. "Watch me." She slammed her shovel down and a chunk of ice shot out, narrowly missing Han Feng's face. She casually asked, "So what now?" Han Feng shook his head. "It's too cold. Let's head back inside and figure something out." Once inside, Han Feng turned to the Chunibyu girl. "How many containers for planting vegetables have you made?" She'd been productive, unlike the others. She hadn't been slacking. "Thanks for your hard work," Han Feng said. "No flower pots?" "No problem, these plastic bottles will do," Kim Gon added. "Queeky, you're really capable." But Queeky rolled her eyes. "Don't treat me like a kid. Weren't you guys out digging? Where's the soil?" Han Feng chuckled. "Yeah, the mud's frozen solid. We couldn't dig at all." Queeky then suggested, "Why not use a heating rod to melt the soil?" Han Feng replied, "It won't penetrate the ground. Plus, its heating power is too weak." Kim Gon muttered, "If only there was a way to instantly melt ice." That triggered a light bulb moment in Queeky's mind. She turned to Han Feng with a grin, saying in a dramatic voice, "Apostle who controls the bathwater, it's time to use your true power." Kim Gon looked confused, but Han Feng understood. "Right. Last time I heated the bathwater, this red light appeared on my hand and bam, instant hot water. If I can figure out the pattern behind that red light, maybe I can melt the soil too." 20 minutes later, nothing. No red light, no pattern. Just frustration. Han Feng asked himself, what was different last time? Then it clicked. Wait, could it be the electric shock? He turned to Queeky. "Got anything that can shock me?" She pulled out a high-power extension cord. "You could stick your finger in this. Might be fatal, though." "Hey, I'm not trying to die. Last time I accidentally got shocked and the red light kicked in. I just want to recreate that moment safely." Kiki understood now and handed him a beginner lightning element wand, a low-voltage stun gun. Han Feng raised an eyebrow. "A stun gun? Aren't those dangerous?" "This one's weak," she assured him. "Barely causes paralysis. Very safe." "All right, I'll trust you. For now." He flipped the switch, activated his red light. Zap! Instantly, the water heated up. Success. Time to test it for real. Han Feng sat outside, red light glowing, stun gun in hand. He didn't understand the science, but he didn't care, as long as it worked. A few minutes later, the ground around him turned to mush. "Ha! We've got soil!" he shouted, laughing and scooping it up. Soon after, they'd filled up all the containers and were ready to plant. Queeky brought out a bunch of seeds. "Which ones do we plant?" Han Feng. "All of them, of course." But Kim Ji-yuen interrupted, "Hold up. The house isn't warm enough. Most of these won't grow." "But tomatoes, cabbage, and eggplants don't need high temperatures. Let's start with those." "As expected from the vegetable expert," Han Feng said with a grin. They installed LED ceiling lights and lit up stoves in each corner of the basement. Han Feng, "This basement's got the best insulation. From now on, this'll be our indoor greenhouse." Kim wasn't convinced. "Even with 4 heaters, I don't know if the temperature's enough." She bent to container level. "If it's not warm enough, they won't sprout." Han Feng joined her, picked up a plastic container, and said, "Maybe my green light can help." He focused, carefully controlling the rhythm of his green energy, and boom, the seeds sprouted. Excited, he tried different seeds. Some failed. But with plenty of backups, he eventually grew dozens of seedlings. He and Kim celebrated with a cheerful high five, but after a few days, they all froze and died. "Even with 4 heaters, it's only 10 degrees C in here," Kim said, sighing. "We need at least 20 degrees C." Han Feng suggested adding 2 more heaters. "No," Kim replied. "Unless we improve insulation, heaters won't be enough." Han Feng pointed out, "This is already the most insulated room in the villa. We can't dig a deeper basement, can we?" Kim grinned. "Leave it to me. I'm strong," Han Feng smirked. "Wait, you're actually gonna dig a hole?" Still, before they grabbed shovels again, Han Feng thought about trying something. Maybe the lights could work on stone. He activated his green A and purple lights. He knew red and green lights were useless on rocks. Purple softened them, but the result was still too hard. So he tried combining all 3 lights, adjusting rhythms. Every attempt failed. When it didn't work, plants turned black, meat became black slime, and stone remained unchanged. Inorganic versus organic. Days passed. Nothing worked, until, out of frustration, he slammed his hand, still glowing red, into the ground. "Damn it! Crack!" To his shock, the stone shattered. Apparently, if the red light's intensity surpassed a certain threshold, it could pulverize rock. All that wasted effort. He muttered. Without hesitation, he put both hands to the floor and blasted red light at full power. The ground cracked open. The effect was great, but it exhausted him completely. From then on, Han Feng became the digger. Kim Ji-yuen was in charge of hauling soil and rocks away. 7 days later, more than 10 meters underground, they finished a 20-square-meter basement. After a few modifications, they had a functional underground greenhouse. "Thanks for the hard work," Han Feng said. Kim shook her head. "No, thank you." They bumped fists in a celebratory booyah. As they climbed the stairs, Han Feng grinned to himself, thinking, "Score." Then Kim turned to Han Feng and said, "If everything goes smoothly, we should be able to harvest those veggies in about 2 months." Han Feng, already looking exhausted, raised an eyebrow. 2 whole months? They take that long to fully grow? He was dead tired. In his head, he was like, "Man, it's already been over 2 weeks since we started this whole vegetable growing mission. They ran out of their old stash ages ago, and for the past 4 days, it's been broccoli, broccoli, and more freaking broccoli. If I have to eat that for 2 more months, I'm not making it," he thought. Luckily, he had this weird green glowing power that could reproduce broccoli and speed up plant growth. Still, it wasn't magic, not perfect. Kim noticed him zoning out and snapped him back to reality. "Mr. Han, let's plant some bean sprouts too. We could probably eat those in just 3 days. But before he could respond, Kim stepped wrong on the stairs. "Ah!" she screamed, slipping. Han Feng looked up just in time to see her falling, but first onto his face. "Ugh!" he groaned as both of them tumbled down like a comedy sketch. A few minutes later, they were back on their feet. Kim kept apologizing, over and over. "Sorry, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" Han Feng, face red as hell, mumbled, "Yeah, it's fine," trying to play it cool. But his nose was bleeding like crazy. Kim noticed it right away. "Mr. Han, your nose is bleeding." He quickly covered it with his hand. It's fine. Seriously." Not long after that, they made it out of the basement and into a dimly lit room. Han Feng still had his hand over his nose, trying to act like everything was normal. Kim said, "Let me check your injury. I'm a nurse, remember?" But he refused. "It's not that bad, really." Then something weird caught his eye. Even with his nose still covered, he was curious. Kim asked, "What is it?" They both peeked into the room and saw Queequeg sitting alone in front of a computer in the dark, acting super suspicious. She was chanting, "O great evil eye, in the name of your apostle I summon thee. Descend to the world in your all-powerful form and help me complete this difficult mission. Come forth, fifth evil eye." Han Feng, now over his nosebleed, marched up to her with Kim following. He smacked her on the head. "What the hell are you doing? Are you okay in the head?" Queequeg, rubbing her head, said, "This is the summoning ritual for the evil eye. One of the eyes lost its function, so I'm summoning a replacement." Han Feng sighed. "So basically one of the CCTV cameras at the base of the hill broke, and you decided to scare the crap out of me with this weird nonsense?" The villa was in a tricky spot. Cliff on one side, only one path up the hill on the other. So as long as they had cameras on that path, they'd see anyone coming. Later, Han Feng and Kim were outside, all geared up in winter clothes, riding skateboards on the snowy road to check the broken CCTV. Only problem? The damn things kept breaking. Because of the snowstorms, they finally made it to the damaged camera. Han Feng climbed up the ladder, cursing under his breath. "Damn weather! When's it gonna end?" Kim held the ladder steady for him. Then they both heard a strange sound. Han Feng froze. "Kim, did you hear that?" He looked around while still up there. After a few tense moments, he climbed down. Kim asked, "What's wrong?" He wasn't sure. Not exactly sure, but a thick mist just started rolling in from the hills. "There's definitely someone or something over there. We should head back, now." Next afternoon, Han Feng came downstairs, yawning like he hadn't slept in days. The weird mist from yesterday? He wasn't too worried about it. Right now, he was only thinking about how to make the veggies grow faster. He sat down in the basement with a plant container in his hands, glowing green light surrounding it. "Let's try sprouting the seeds first," he muttered, but it didn't work. The same method that worked before wasn't working now. 30 minutes passed. Still no luck. In fact, things got worse. The veggies that had direct contact with his green glowing light all died. He stared in shock. What the hell? This can't be right. Meanwhile, the ones he hadn't touched, they were growing like crazy. He had a light bulb moment. Wait, maybe only a tiny bit of green light is enough? He tried again, and sure enough, when he used a faint glow for another 30 minutes, the veggies grew just fine, then stopped. So, no shortcuts. He had to do this manually every day. Kim and Queequeg helped out too. 5 days later, the veggies were finally coming along. Han Feng looked proud as hell at his giant Chinese cabbage. Kim stared at a radish. Are you sure this shape is normal?" Queequeg poked at a tomato. "This one looks cursed." But then came the real monster veggie. The three of them stood frozen in front of some mutated produce. Han Feng asked, "Are green cabbages supposed to be this big?" Kim shrugged. "Maybe it's a new breed." Han Feng was a little concerned. Aside from the cabbage, everything else looked off. Is my glowing light messing things up? Then he thought, whatever, we're surviving. If it's edible, I'm not complaining. Kim broke the tension. "Let's make radish pork rib soup and tomato beef stew today." Everyone agreed. A few hours later, they were all stuffed. Han Feng leaned back with a satisfied sigh. "All that work the past 2 weeks? Totally worth it." Then Queequeg, of course, said, "I want strawberries and honeydew. Let's plant some fruits too." Han Feng got up and pulled her cheek. "Weren't you the one who said vitamins were enough?" She stuck her tongue out. "Humans take vitamins. Evil gods get strawberries and honeydew." Kim pointed to the mountain of leftover cabbage. "You guys done eating? There's so much left." Both of them immediately said no. Han Feng, "I'm so sick of cabbage." Queequeg, "I hate green cabbage." Han Feng sighed. "If only Brother Lee were here, he'd finish this pile off by himself." It had been 2 weeks since Brother Lee and the others went down the hill. Han Feng started to feel a bit guilty. Hope they're safe and not starving. A few days later, a loud explosion rocked the outside. Han Feng, Kim, and Queequeg were chilling at the dinner table after a nice meal. Queequeg joked, "Sounds like the Demon King's waking up." Kim said, "That's the 6th time we've heard that sound in 6 days. What's going on out there?" Han Feng shrugged. "Whatever it is, it doesn't involve us. It only happens once a day. Not our problem." 3 days later, the explosions didn't stop. Boom, boom, boom. They were eating again when Han Feng snapped. "Damn it!" He held his head. "It's been going off like 10 times today. What the hell is happening?" He finally made up his mind to check it out, grabbed the ladder and climbed to the villa roof. I need to see this for myself, he muttered. Now lying flat on the rooftop with his scope, he zoomed in on the distance and saw something fall from the sky. What the hell is that? And boom! He spots a weird explosion in the distance. Not close, but still visible, with his eye scope. He's like, what the hell? Who's out there making all that noise? Aren't they worried about giving away their location? He sat down right there in the snow, took off his scope, and just started thinking. Yeah, the explosion happened far away, but what if one of those things hits near them one day? That would be a mess. He looked back at their reinforced house and thought, these walls are kind of thin and low. Gotta do something about that. Back inside, he explained everything to Kim Ji-wen and Kiki. He didn't have the full picture of what's happening outside, but he wasn't about to take chances. So he's like, we need to boost our walls, higher and thicker. Kiki was like, cool, but with what? I'm out of cement. Han Feng just grinned. Heh. Come on, we've got materials right here. He pointed to the pile of stones they dug up while building the basement. Then he went on, let's stack these stones, pour water on them, and let it freeze. Bam! Instant wall! And that's exactly what they did. He even tested it with a shovel, smacked the new wall, and boom! Solid. Like seriously tough. That mix of frozen water and stone might be even stronger than regular cement walls thanks to the freezing temperature. So the three of them got to work, non-stop. They raised the walls, made them thicker, but then ran out of stones. No problem. Han Feng just took apart the villa next door and used its materials. Took them 3 days, but they finally built a massive ice wall. Han Feng was pretty pleased. With this wall, we're chillin' for now, he said. But of course, peace never lasts long. The ground started rumbling like there was an earthquake. Kim Ji-wen screamed, "Ah!" and Kiki fell right on her butt. Han Feng looked up like, wait, that's not aimed at us, right? A few minutes later, he climbed up to the roof with his eye scope. What he saw made his stomach drop. Damn. It really did hit here. Boom! Another explosion. 2 giant rocks slammed right into their new wall. One even flew over his head. He barely ducked in time. Thank God they built that wall early. If not, they'd be toast. Han Feng climbed down the ladder, dashed inside, and yelled from the inner hallway, "There's artillery fire! Everyone to the basement! Now!" They hid underground for half a day before it was safe to come back up. But then, round 2. That night, Han Feng was just trying to enjoy a damn bath when boom, another artillery strike. Dude ran out of the bathroom half naked, yelling, "Artillery fire again! Basement, now!" Day 3, the villa next door straight up exploded, and a shell hit their wall again. Day 4, Han Feng was literally just about to take a dump when, boom, another strike. But he had no choice. He went into the bathroom anyway. Then Kiki barged in like, "Hurry up, I need to use it too." And Han Feng's just sitting there like, "Really? You can't knock?" Total humiliation. By the next day, Han Feng had had enough. He geared up in full snow gear, slammed on another jacket, strapped a pistol to his waist, and just snapped. "I can't live like this anymore, damn it. I can't eat right, sleep right, or even take a proper dump." He grabbed his guns, prepped all his gear, turned on his red light beacon thing, and was like, time to find out which psycho keeps bombing us. With his snow skateboard locked and loaded, he told Kim and Kiki, "Stay safe, I'll be back." And off he went. A few hours into his journey, he suddenly got that gut feeling, like something was really off. So he stopped and found a place to hide. Then he saw it. A piece of cloth, all black and torn. Looked suspiciously like military uniform material. He picked it up and thought, wait, is the army involved in that explosion from a few days ago? He also wondered if it could be the same crew from before, Fatso and his commander. As he moved forward, the number of dead bodies just kept increasing. Whatever went down here was rough. For safety, he climbed up a mountain to get a better view. The breeze up there was different, super cold and whistling like whoosh whoosh. He scoped the place out and saw a massive cave, military style for sure, and right in front, 2 huge cannons. Hold up, are those the cannons that keep shelling us? He thought. Weirdest part, the soldiers around the cave were acting real shady, like sneaky shady. That's their base, right? So why do they look like they're about to stab each other in the back? Civil war? Then outta nowhere, boom! The entire group of soldiers got blasted sky high. They were screaming, "Ah!" One even flew all the way toward Han Feng's spot, but he managed to dodge. The soldier crashed into the snow, totally dead. Han Feng crawled back to his spot, laid low, and kept watching. Are all the soldiers really wiped out? He wondered. Suddenly, 3 people walked out of the cave, just casually strolling out like it was no big deal. Han Feng squinted through his scope, confused. How's a whole damn family just walking out of there so chill? Did they notice me? No way. We're like 100 meters apart. Must be a coincidence, he muttered. Meanwhile, he was still lying flat on the snowy ground, freezing his butt off and thinking, nah, no way she spotted me. Gotta be a coincidence. He was still watching the group through his scope when suddenly, boom, the short lady from that weird family squad aimed a whole damn bazooka right at him and launched it without hesitation. The explosion hit the exact spot where he was hiding just moments before. Luckily, Han Feng had already started sliding down the snowy hill, barely dodging the blast. As he slid, he muttered, no freaking way. She did see me. But how? These people aren't normal. While trying to figure out what to do next, maybe regroup with the others at the villa and hide out for a bit? Another loud noise hit his ears. Boom! Bang, bang! Gunfire and explosions echoing from uphill. Turns out, another group of soldiers were climbing up the hill in a panic, yelling and shooting like crazy. One of them screamed, "They're catching up to us!" But it was already too late. That same bizarre family was now just a few steps away from the soldiers. Then the boy from the group casually placed his hand on the snow, and boom, an avalanche-level explosion of snow blasted out. The soldiers were instantly buried. Even Han Feng, who was still sliding downhill, turned around just in time to see the snowy blast racing toward him. What the hell? This is insane! I'm screwed, he shouted, right before getting swallowed by the snow like a fly in a blizzard. A few minutes passed. The snow finally settled, the cold wind howling as if nothing had just happened. Near a dam that blocked the worst of the snow blast, a red light started glowing under the snow. It was Han Feng. The snow around him melted and he clawed his way out, coughing like he just came back from the dead. He was dragging an unconscious body behind him by the leg. Still breathing hard, he muttered, "Damn, almost got buried alive. If that dam hadn't been there, I'd be history." Right before he got buried, he'd caught a glimpse of the 3 freaks standing calmly on top of the snow untouched. He wondered, can they actually control ice and snow? He glanced down at the unconscious guy he was dragging. Maybe this one could spill something useful. Cut to a few minutes later, they were holed up inside some abandoned building. Han Feng had tied the guy's hands behind his back, laid him flat on the cold floor, and was pointing a gun right at his face. The guy woke up groggy, let out a confused grunt. Ugh! Then opened his eyes, saw the pistol, and immediately screamed, "Ah! Don't kill me! I'll tell you everything!" Han Feng blinked, surprised. "What? I haven't even started interrogating you yet." He grabbed a nearby chair, sat down with the gun still pointed at the guy, and said calmly, "All right then, just tell me about that woman and those freaky kids. Give me the details, and maybe you'll walk out of here alive." The guy didn't waste a second. "They're not human, man. They use ice magic. They can blow stuff up with their hands. Energy waves. Snow explosions." Han Feng rolled his eyes and stepped on the guy's face. "Quit rambling. Start with that woman. Talk one by one." Through the boot in his face, the guy explained. "The woman's the scariest. She sends people flying with one move using energy waves. The short girl, she's all about explosions, can literally make anything blow up. And the boy, he can control ice and snow, causing avalanches like it's nothing. They're monsters, not people. Magicians or something." Han Feng muttered to himself. "Outrageous." Then looked down at his own glowing red palm. "Though I'm not exactly normal either, just like that middle school girl I met before, and that giant guy." He turned back to the hostage. "One last thing. The people who've been bombing the hills near our villa the past few days, was that your group?" The guy panicked. No, it wasn't us. Our base got taken over by them. We came back with reinforcements to take it back." Han Feng processed that. "So those explosions we kept hearing, they were just a side effect of your little war? All those soldiers who died, it was those 3 again?" He stood up slowly, frowning. "So the ones bombarding our villa area every day was them too? But why?" To clear his head, he raised his gun and fake pulled the trigger. "That doesn't make sense. I don't even know them. Why are they targeting me every damn day?" The hostage screamed, "Brother, I don't know either." Han Feng sighed heavily, lowered the gun, and said, "Forget it, go." The guy got up, shaking like a leaf, saying, "Thank you, brother, thank you." He walked outside, still bowing and mumbling gratitude. Then, splat, a huge chunk of snow fell from above and crushed him. dead, just like that. Han Feng stood there, eyes wide in shock. More snow started falling. It wasn't random. It was coming down right where he was. Even though he was still inside the building, the blasts were hitting the walls hard. Realizing this wasn't a coincidence, Han Feng activated both his red and green glowing powers and reinforced the big window nearby. If this keeps up, the building might not hold, but I just strengthened. It should be safe for now. Still, he couldn't shake it. The attacks were too precise. They weren't just firing randomly. They knew exactly where he was. Meanwhile, back at the stolen military base, the three inhuman freaks were just chilling. The boy covered his ears, grinning. "Big sis, you're crazy skilled," the short girl shrugged. "Of course, I've been practicing." The woman spoke calmly. "After the bombardments, his power didn't vanish. It actually got stronger." The boy frowned. "Not even the avalanche or explosions killed him. That guy's a beast," the short girl laughed. "Relax. We've got plenty more bombs. He'll die eventually." The woman nodded. "Fire off a few more. If he still survives, we'll go after him ourselves. We can't let him escape, or else he'll only bring more trouble later." The boy hesitated, shivering a little. "But he's not even scared of bombs. Can we really take him down?" The short girl smiled and rubbed his head. "You've got nothing to worry about. Your powers are unbeatable in the snow." Back at Han Feng's side, he was sitting in a chair, drained, but relieved the bombardment finally stopped. "Damn, if I hadn't reinforced the place, I'd be toast." He got up, walked to the big window, looking out at the snowy battlefield. "So what do I do now? Should I go after them? But there's 3 of them and only 1 of me." He thought about retreating, but if he ran back home, they'd just start bombing him every day again. "No," he said to himself. "If I want peace, I'll have to figure out a way to take them out first." Han Feng picked up a small rock and started sketching his game plan right onto the wall. While drawing, he mumbled to himself, "There's a wide snowfield right in front of the dam, hills on both sides, and exactly 3 enemies coming for him. Each one has some freaky special power." He even drew their abilities out next to their names like a doodle chart of doom. He remembered what that hostage, the one who didn't make it, told him before dying. The girl, she turns whatever she touches into a bomb. Luckily, the building he's holed up in has already been reinforced, so maybe it can hold up. Then there's the woman, who can blast energy waves like some anime villain, and she doesn't even have to get close. She's dangerous, sure, but the real nightmare is the boy. This guy can create avalanches. If he controls snow from a distance, he could literally just bury the entire dam and Han Feng with it. No warning, no escape, just snow and silence. Han Feng looked at his rifle and thought, if only he could just shoot them from far away. He positioned the rifle toward a path they might pass through, but he already knew he wasn't some trained sniper. At long range, odds were he'd miss, and if they decide to stay up in the hills, he wouldn't even see them coming. He leaned back in his chair, frustrated and tired, trying to think of another way to take them out. Maybe a trap? But what kind of trap works on a guy who can freeze half a mountain? That's probably useless. Then he had an idea. Maybe lure them to the dam's lower level and release the water. Drown them. Simple and brutal. So he got up and went to inspect the dam. While walking, he thought, even if I manage to drag them down there, who's gonna open the gate? That thing's at least 7 meters tall. But then he remembered something. He'd once heard that in the North Pole, ice layers can be 2 meters thick, meaning the water underneath should be way above the dam gate. He did some quick mental math. If the hangar and snow are on the same level, and the ice is under the snow, and the gate is beneath the hangar, and the water is beneath the ice, then, maybe the water is high enough. Still, he didn't want to gamble on theory alone, so he tested it. He walked to one of the nearest pillars by the gate and used his red energy light to melt the snow. Once it was clear, he sat down and switched to purple light. He placed his glowing hand on the pillar, sending the energy flowing down until the wall near the gate started melting. After a while, water started leaking out. Jackpot. Without wasting time, he shut off the purple light, activated his green energy, and reinforced the now weakened wall before it could give way too early. As he finished, he muttered to himself, "Nice, there's water. If I pull them down here, they're done." Meanwhile, the 3 freaks, let's call them the murder family, were already on the move. Thanks to the woman's wave energy, they covered ground crazy fast. She made some weird circular energy motion and zipped them forward. A few minutes in, they stopped after spotting the dam in the distance. The woman used her energy to scout ahead and sensed Han Feng was hiding in the second building above the dam. The bomb girl smirked. "I'll blow him up right now." But the woman said, Yuan Yi, you go first. When he runs, Zixi will finish it. Zixi, the bomb girl, nodded. Then Yuan Yi, the avalanche boy, crouched and shoved his hands into the snow. Moments later, a massive wave of snow came crashing toward the building where Han Feng was hiding. But Han Feng wasn't caught off guard. He was already reinforcing the structure indoor. When the avalanche slammed into the place, he just muttered, "They're here." The snowstorm lasted a few minutes. Then everything went still. Meanwhile, Han Feng was already geared up behind his sniper rifle, all set. He had his eye glued to the scope, slowly panning it around to lock on to their exact location. A few minutes passed, and boom, he spotted them through the scope. No hesitation. He aimed straight at the woman and pulled the trigger. The bullet shot out with serious force, spinning through the air right toward her. Thing is, the three of them had no idea they were being targeted. But lucky for them, the woman's circular energy barrier, the one created by her energy wave, was still active. It had stopped moving, but it was just floating there like a bulletproof shield. The second the bullet hit that barrier, it bounced, like the bullet was flying horizontally and suddenly just curved upward like it got smacked by something invisible. It started moving vertically instead. Han Feng fired more rounds right after, but each one did the same thing, bounced off in all sorts of weird directions. Right away, the woman grabbed Yuan Yi and Zixi by the hands and reignited her energy wave, making the circular motion spin faster. She said, "Looks like that avalanche isn't enough to crush the house he's hiding in. Zixi, I'm counting on you now." Zixi was all hyped and replied, "No problem." Meanwhile, Han Feng had already spotted them coming his way through his personal scope. He muttered to himself, "I've waited way too long for this moment." Without wasting time, he switched to his second plan. A few minutes later, he flipped a table upright, dragged a chair next to it, and gathered all of his tools, the rifle, the scope, his backpack, all of it. Then he packed them with his backpack behind his back. As he climbed up on the table, stood tall, using the chair. He activated his red glowing light with his hand, aiming it at the roof to blast open the concrete. After a short struggle, he cracked it open. He climbed through the hole, stood up, stretched his back, and thought to himself, "All that cursing I came up with after overthinking everything, I'm gonna piss them off with it." Right then and there, he shouted loudly in their direction, "Hey, you bastards!" The three families, still making their way toward him, heard the shout loud and clear. They weren't that far away. Zixi snapped, "He actually dared to insult us? I'm gonna bomb him to death!" She reached for her bazooka, but froze when she realized it was gone. She had no idea the woman already swiped it from her. At that moment, the woman paused her energy wave, held up Zixi's bazooka, and asked, "Do you know what I hate the most?" Then, without waiting for an answer, she pulled the trigger and fired the bazooka at the second building above the dam while shouting, "You're a run-through floozy! Your whole family's full of run-through floozies!" Just then, out of nowhere, a parachute flies from the building with a thick duvet tied to the parachute floats down toward the lower part of the dam. He yelled out of nowhere, "Ha ha 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 ha, you ugly hag! Go wash your butt and wait for me." Zixi spotted the parachute midair and freaked. "Big sis! Look, he's flying away!" Without thinking, the woman grabbed both Zixi and Yuan Yi again and reactivated her energy motion, spinning it up at full speed and dashing straight toward the direction he was headed. "I'm gonna kill you!" she screamed. Zixi tried to calm her down. "Big sis, chill!" And Yuan Yi, cold as ever, said, "Die." A few minutes later, the parachute landed near the bottom level of the dam. The three of them were just a few steps away from reaching him. But little did they know, Han Feng was calmly on top of the nearest pillar by the dam's gate. He placed his glowing purple light hand on the pillar and activated it. Energy started flowing down through it like a current, and he just muttered quietly to himself, "Goodbye, all of you." Boom! The first dam gate flew open and water came rushing out like crazy. But Han Feng was like, "Yeah, nah, one is not gonna cut it." So he sprinted off and opened more. Second gate, bam! Third, boom! Fourth, crack! Each one just made the water pressure build up even more, like a huge wave of chaos waiting to hit. Meanwhile, down below the dam, the three families were still on the hunt for Han Feng. They were searching everywhere when Zixi suddenly spotted a parachute. She was like, "Big sis, look over there! I found the bastard!" But Big Sis wasn't convinced. She told Zixi to chill and used her wave energy to scan the area. After a second, she frowned and went, "Nope, no energy signal coming from that direction." Just then, Yuanyi caught a strange noise. It was this weird sound echoing around, and he was like, "Wait, what the hell is that?" Before they could figure it out, the dam water started rushing their way. Yuanyi noticed first and quickly yelled, "Out," warning the others about the incoming flood. Big Sis immediately realized what was going on. "It's a trap!" she shouted. Then she turned to Yuanyi. "Quick, make an avalanche! We need to escape!" Zixi chimed in too, like, "Come on, Yuanyi, hurry up!" Yuanyi didn't waste time. He dropped to his knees and slammed both hands into the snow, trying to trigger a massive avalanche. But the water was coming too fast. Big Sis was yelling at him to move faster, and even though he was doing everything he could, things were falling apart. The snow around them had already started melting, so there just wasn't enough left for a proper avalanche. He was stressed, sweating, and muttered, "I'm trying, but there's no snow left to work with," and boom. Whatever avalanche he managed to start just melted into slush and collapsed. Water slammed into them, and they all screamed in panic. "Ah! Ha ha ha!" But Big Sis, being a badass as usual, managed to grab them both in the chaos. Then she summoned her energy wave and created this shield, blocking the flood from burying them alive. It was wild. A few minutes later, the flood started calming down. The water flowed off into the snowy path, and the pressure dropped. Back at the top of the dam, Han Feng stood tall on a pillar, using his scope to scan for the trio. But his view was blocked by the hills, so he muttered, "Shh, can't see anything." From up here, well, even if they didn't drown, they'll freeze to death anyway. He smiled to himself, thinking his peaceful, carefree life was about to return. Feeling satisfied, he started walking toward the cave. On the way, he thought, man, how cool would it be to just walk through snow like it's nothing? And he just kept on strolling. An hour later, he stumbled upon the site where Zixi's bazooka had blown up some military dudes. He picked up one of their guns, gave it a quick check, then casually added it to his growing weapons stash. A bit later, he finally made it to the cave, but something didn't sit right. He was feeling a bit cautious. In his head, he was like, ugh, please, don't let anyone be inside. I don't want to walk in and get sprayed with bullets. So he stayed at a distance and fired his signature purple energy at 2 nearby cannons. They started melting down slowly. After a few minutes, they were toast. He considered melting the cannon shells too, but paused and thought, wait, what? If they explode when I melt them? And yeah, that would attract too much attention. So he decided to just leave the ammo. Without the cannons, the shells were basically useless anyway. After that, he sneaked into the cave like a pro. And once inside, he was like, whoa, this place is massive. It was clearly some top-level military base, and not long after. Entering, he spotted a ton of large weapons lined up. Damn, look at all this heavy-duty gear, he whispered. Luckily, they had only hit him with a mortar before. If they'd used one of these monsters, his whole place would have been blown to bits no matter how much he reinforced it. Not wasting any more time, he started melting the weapons one after another. He didn't stop until every single one was gone. Then he went deeper into the cave and found a huge stockpile of military supplies, enough to arm an entire squad. Easy. No wonder those soldiers were fighting so hard to reclaim the place, but the stash was way too much for one guy to carry. He sighed, thinking it was such a waste to just leave it all behind. Then he smiled, imagining what it would be like if that middle school girl, Queek, was with him. With her devil eye, she could probably gobble up the entire arsenal like candy. He actually giggled at the thought. Man, if she was here, we'd be loaded right now, he thought, and he seriously considered heading back to the villa to bring her here. It'd be much safer to have all that firepower in their hands than someone else's. A little while later, he stepped out of the cave, but before he could even take a proper breath, boom! Rocks started falling from above, and one of them had a fingerprint on it. Han Feng's eyes widened. Crap! Boom! The rocks exploded, shaking everything around. Turns out, the 3 families were right on top of the cave the whole time. Zixi laughed from above. You thought you could drown us? Nah, watch me blow you to pieces. She turned to Big Sis. Check if he's dead. Big Sis peered down with her energy sense, but her face changed. She looked seriously surprised. So, boom. The rocks were still exploding everywhere, like one after another. The whole area was just shaking and covered in thick fog, and pieces of rocks were flying around like crazy. It went on for a while until the explosion explosions finally calmed down, but the air was still full of smoke and dust. Bit by bit, the fog started to clear, and out came Han Feng, still alive. Dude had managed to survive by using his green and purple glow powers to shield himself. He looked down at his burned-up clothes and muttered, "Damn. Those rocks actually exploded. That was way too close. If he hadn't strengthened his clothes with his powers, he would have been toast for sure." Then it hit him. Those rocks? They weren't random. They came from above. He glanced up at the cave ceiling, instantly realizing someone was ambushing him from right above the cave. He got pissed. "Shh, seriously? Hiding above and throwing explosives? You think I won't do anything back?" Then he activated his red energy glow, walked straight to the cave wall, slapped both palms on it, and started pumping energy into it. Not long after, cracks started forming on the upper cave wall. Big Sis up there was like, "Oh no, this is bad!" Before they could react, the whole thing collapsed and sent them crashing down. In the chaos, Big Sis quickly grabbed Zixi and Yuanyi, trying to protect them as they screamed the whole way down. They hit the ground hard. Zixi was groaning, "Ow, my butt!" while Yuanyi clutched his head like, "Ugh, my skull!" They were just lying there, dazed. But Big Sis wasted no time and barked, "Get up! He's here!" As they scrambled to their feet, Han Feng was already hiding behind a massive rock, aiming his rifle right at them. Rat-tat-tat! He let the bullets fly, raining them down like a storm. And boom, one of them hit Big Sis right in the leg. She dropped to the ground in pain, while Zixi and Yuanyi tumbled off the side of a hill, rolling down and slamming into the ground again. Big Sis, still on the ground, looked up at Han Feng with pain in her voice and said, "Wait, we surrender." Han Feng blinked. Huh? That caught him off guard. He slowly walked toward her. Just then, Zixi scrambled back, yelling, "You bastard! Let go of my sister!" Meanwhile, Han Feng was doing some quick thinking. Those rocks earlier were no joke, but thankfully my gear held up. But if I shoot the girl first, Big Sis might attack. If I shoot Big Sis, the boy might jump me. Ugh, what a mess. So instead of fighting more, he shouted, "Look, honestly, I don't have any beef with you people. If you stop bombing my house, we can get along just fine." Big Sis gave him a confused look. "Bombing your house?" Zixi tilted her head, too. "Wait, don't tell me you live at the hillside villa?" Han Feng snapped. "What do you think? If you guys weren't shelling my house every single day, do you think I'd be out here? You think I'm sightseeing? Out here for a nice stroll because the weather's great?" Big Sis turned to Zixi with a very explain-yourself kind of look. Out, Zixi just shrugged and was like, "I don't know. It just feels good to blow stuff up. It's fun. And besides, all those rich people living in villas, I just wanted to bomb them." Han Feng face-palmed. "Are you serious? Are you mentally okay?" Big Sis calmly asked. "So, you're not one of the soldiers who ambushed us today?" Han Feng pointed to himself. "Do I look like a soldier? Look at my clothes. Do I scream military to you?" Big Sis raised an eyebrow. "Then why'd you show up at the same time as them?" Han Feng sighed. "If I say it's just a coincidence, would you even believe me?" Then, out of nowhere, Big Sis changed her tone real quick. "Handsome, I'm sorry. This was all a huge misunderstanding." Tears started falling from her eyes, but Han Feng wasn't buying it. "Don't think just crying will get you a free pass." She wiped her tears. "No, seriously, my leg hurts like hell." Fast forward a few minutes, and they were inside one of the cave's rooms. Medical tools and supplies were all laid out. Han Feng sat on a chair, still aiming his rifle at them, not letting his guard down for a second. While he watched, he couldn't help but think, "She's too calm for someone pulling a bullet out of her leg. If it were me, I'd be screaming." Yuanyi had already dozed off, while Zixi handled the first aid, cleaning and dressing the wound like a pro. Han Feng noticed, "This little girl, she's way too good at this. Who are these people?" Once the wound was treated, Big Sis planted both feet on the ground. Han Feng finally spoke. "From today, no more bombing my house. In return, I won't mess with you guys either. Deal?" Big Sis smiled. "Thank you, sir, for forgiving us. We accept your terms. In fact, to show our sincerity, feel free to take any resources from this place that you need." Zixi's jaw dropped. "Huh? But we're the ones who risked our necks to steal all this. Why are you just giving it away?" Big Sis turned to her with that serious mom face. "Kneel down right now." Zixi froze. "Wait, what? If you hadn't been bored and started randomly bombing villas, would any of this have happened? Would I be injured right now?" Zixi got scared real fast. "I'm sorry, it was my bad." Big Sis faced Han Feng again. "She's just a kid. Didn't didn't know any better. Please don't hold it against her. Han Feng raised a brow. Man, she changed faces fast, but he kept his gun pointed. Then he asked, by the way, you seem to always know where I was. How did you even track me? Instead of answering, Big Sis tried bargaining. Now that we're on friendly terms, could you maybe put the gun down first? Zixi agreed. Yeah, come on, we're cool now. But Han Feng wasn't convinced. Still don't trust you. Big Sis let out a sigh. All right, I'll tell you. It's a kind of superpower, and I can even teach you if you're interested. Han Feng blinked. Wait, superpower? She went on to explain that even before this messed up climate change started, some people already had supernatural abilities, aka superpowers. She showed off a mini tornado swirling in her hand. These powers release energy that's kinda like a magnetic field. If you can sense it, you can roughly guess someone's location. They kept chatting, and Han Feng started to get the gist of how to sense those energy waves. Then he asked, if superpowers grow stronger with experience, does that mean I can unlock more of them? Big Sis shook her head. From what I know, each person only gets one superpower. They don't mix. Han Feng paused, thinking, wait, I have red, green, and purple glow powers. Red destroys, green makes stuff grow, purple melts things. So I have 3? What's going on with me? He decided he really needed to study his powers properly. He finally stood up, set the rifle aside, and walked up to Big Sis. Let's start fresh. I'm Han Feng. I used to be an office worker. She smiled back. I'm Zhang Roqing. I used to be a teacher. Let's work together well from now on. Then she squinted and grinned. By the way, remember calling me a run-through floozy and a damned uggo? Wanna explain that? Han Feng just forced a weird, awkward smile to cover his embarrassment. Zixi burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. I knew Big Sis wouldn't let you off the hook that easily, all while her fingerprint bombs were still scattered around the room. So Zixi was like, should I just bomb him now? All casual, like she was talking about making popcorn. But Han Feng, man, was sweating bullets. He backed off a bit and was like, wait, you guys aren't thinking of taking me out too, right? I mean, yeah, the last explosions didn't kill me, but still. Inside, though, he was panicking. If they really blew him up in close range, he'd be toast, even with his powers. But of course, he slapped on that weird fake smile again to cover up the fear. Miss Zhang, aka Big Sis, stepped in like the mature one, telling him not to get the wrong idea. We already agreed to work together, she said. I just want to know why you called me all those nasty names earlier. Han Feng played dumb. Curses? Who, me? Nah, I don't remember that at all. He tried to pull his hand away, but Zhang held it tight, not letting him weasel out. So the guy quickly flipped the script. Someone like Miss Zhang, elegant, smart, beautiful, totally radiant. You must be every man's dream. Definitely a misunderstanding. And just like that, she blushed. But Zhang turned to Zixi like, who said you could use your power? Zixi just blinked, confused. Wait, so we're not bombing him anymore? Later, in a more chill room, Zixi glared at Han Feng like a gremlin. Don't think sucking up to my sister makes me forgive you, you stinky man. Han Feng, scratching his head, tried to charm his way through. This little lady's so full of energy, so innocent, so cute. Zixi blushed immediately. Arms crossed like, okay, fine, you've got good taste. Then she tried to act tough again, but don't get cocky. I'm only letting it slide this time. Han Feng smirked internally. This one's way too easy to fool. Later that night, Yuan Yi was already passed out under a blanket while Han Feng got ready to leave. All right, I'm heading home. I'll send someone over later to grab some supplies. Cool with that? He also mentioned the generator fuel running low, hoping they'd let him refill it. Miss Zhang nodded, but then she patted the bed beside her and said, it's the middle of the night. Why not just stay and rest? Han Feng froze. She was sitting there with that slightly suspicious tone and posture like she had plans. His heart skipped. Wait a minute, is she trying to seduce me? Before he could say anything, Zixi burst in, with flames of rage in her eyes. Oh really? You want to sleep here? Han Feng panicked. No! I have stuff to do at home. Bye! He straight up bolted out of the room in a blur. After he left, Zixi looked at her sister. Shouldn't we have told him about the thing with superpowers? Miss Zhang just said calmly, if I tell him now, he won't have a reason to come back. Meanwhile, Yuan Yi was still under his blanket, trying to act like he was asleep. Zhang narrowed her eyes. He's gone. You can stop pretending now. Yuan Yi sat up all annoyed. I just don't like talking to strangers. Miss Zhang looked concerned. You used your ability a lot today. Did anything feel weird with your body? Before Yuan Yi could answer, Zixi zoomed in like an overexcited nurse. Let me check. Move it, let's see. And boom. she started poking him everywhere, like some twitchy doctor. Yuanyi barely had time to react before she pulled his pants slightly down and, yep, discovered a weird mark. She laughed way too loud. "It's growing on his butt!" Yuanyi screamed, trying to escape. "Let me go!" Miss Zhang just watched, like it was all routine. "Well, good thing it's just the butt," she said. "Still, let's not overuse our powers from now on." Cut to Han Feng stumbling through a snowstorm like a walking popsicle. The dude was exhausted, legs barely working. "So tired, I'm gonna collapse." Suddenly, he clutched his chest. His breathing got shaky, heart racing. "What the hell? I can't breathe!" He fell to one knee, snow piling on him as he struggled. "This is bad. I need help." He suddenly remembered the hidden CCTV. He kept pushing through the snow until he spotted the camera high up on a tree. He waved his arms like crazy. "Hello! Anyone?" Back at his villa, the CCTV picked up his image. Inside the house, everything was quiet. Trash everywhere. Monitors glowing. Everyone sound asleep. In one room, Kim Ji-yoon snoozed under a blanket with little hearts on it. In another, Chiu-kyu was half awake, blinking slowly. No one seemed to notice. Back, in the woods, Han Feng was still waving, desperate. "Are they both asleep? I'm gonna die out here!" Then he collapsed, chest tight, body shaking. Snow clung to him like ice armor. His rifle slipped off his back. "It hurts!" he cried out. One last time before going still. Hours later, a soft golden light glowed in a warm room. Han Feng slowly opened his eyes, confused. "What? Where am I?" He sat up, freaked out, then looked down. He was naked. "Why am I naked?" Kiki was just sitting there on the bed, legs crossed like it was a normal Wednesday. Kim Ji-yoon stirred a bowl of warm water like nothing was weird. She calmly said, "I got hungry, walked out for food, and saw you on the CCTV nearly freezing to death." Turns out she had dragged his entire body back uphill, stripped off his clothes to warm him up, and dumped him in bed. Han Feng nearly choked. "You stripped me?" She nodded. "You're fine now, though, but why'd you collapse anyway?" Han Feng explained everything. The fight, the exhaustion, the chest pain. Kim tapped her chin. "Could be angina from the cold. You overdid it." Queeky gave him a thumbs up. "You fought 3 people alone? Pretty badass." Han Feng groaned. "Can y'all please worry about my health first?" Then Queeky jumped up. "Right, I was supposed to bring supplies back. We don't have time." But Kim blocked her. "Nope, Mr. Han needs full rest. Daily ECGs, no heavy lifting." And just like that, Han Feng got roped into 5 days of hospital level pampering. Kim brought soup, checked his vitals, wrapped him like a burrito, and basically made sure he didn't drop dead. By the end of it, Han Feng felt good again, fully recharged. Later, he sat in a sauna, sweating like crazy. Kiki sat across from him eating watermelon like it was summer. "You've been trying forever," she teased. "Maybe the evil king ghosted you." Han Feng closed his eyes and focused. "Shh, I'm this close." Suddenly, he sensed something weird. "Wait, Kim Ji-yoon? What is she? Why is her posture so weird?" Cut to Kim in the bathroom, freezing mid-motion, like she'd been caught. "Huh? Who's watching me?" Back in the sauna, Han Feng raised 2 fingers in pure confidence. "Ah, this must be a divine ability." Meanwhile, back on the snowy cliffs, the 3 families were huddled in the wind. Miss Zhang was in a wheelchair, wrapped in furs. "He said he'd be back soon," she murmured. "It's been 8 days." Yuanyi adjusted her blanket while Zixi crossed her arms, annoyed. Then, movement. They saw someone coming through the snow. 3 figures. Zixi's jaw dropped. "Wait, he brought 2 superhumans?" Miss Zhang was stunned too. 3 superhumans? That's impossible! But the guy pushing her chair stayed chill. "We're not fighting? Who cares?" The 2 groups met as the wind settled. Han Feng walked up in snow goggles, holding his rifle. "Long time no see," he said. "We're here for the supplies." He gestured behind him. "These 2 are my allies now." Kim Ji-yoon stepped forward, smiling sweetly. "Nice to meet you. Please guide me." Kiki gave a shy wave. Hello, but then Miss Zhang's face completely froze. Her eyes widened. "Sister, why are you here?" Everyone gasped. Even Han Feng stood there in shock. "Wait, what?" Queeky suddenly pulling the whole "I'm just a kid" act. She looks at Miss Zhang all innocent and goes, "Auntie, you must be mistaken. I'm only 12 years old this year. Like, girl, please." Zhang wasn't buying any of it. The moment Kiki tried to walk away, Zhang literally jumped out of her wheelchair and dashed after her, arms wide open like she was ready to tackle her with feelings. She shouted, "You think I'm blind? You suddenly vanished from the research institute. Do you even know how worried I was?" Kiki just hit her with, "I was chasing my dream, Zhang." "What dream?" She literally went WWE on her. pinned one of Kiki's hands and raised her leg like she was about to slam her. Then, Kiki confessed, dead serious, "I just want to stay home, eat all day, and die happy." That was when she started yelling for Han and Nurse Kim like, "Help me! I'm being held hostage by feelings!" Meanwhile, Han and Nurse Kim were just standing there with Zixi and Yuanyi like, do they know each other? Zixi, with the most confused face ever, was like, "I don't know, maybe?" A few minutes later, they're all chilling inside a cave. Han, Kim, Zixi, Yuanyi, sitting in front of the two sisters and looking like they're watching the weirdest family. Drama unfold. Zhang was now cradling Kiki on her lap like a baby and just casually dropped a bomb. To be honest, Sister Kiki is my real sister, but from a different dad and mom. The group. Huh? She explained how she was adopted at 11, and Kiki was already there and became her big sister. They were closer than actual siblings, practically glued together growing up. Han Feng and Zixi stood up at the same time, pointing fingers like they rehearsed it. Han pointed at Zhang, Zixi at Kiki, both shouting, "Wait a sec, no matter how you look at it, you should be the older sister." Yang just blushed and smiled. "It's okay, it's a common mistake. Sister Kiki is so small and adorable." Then she pulled out a photo of them when they were younger. Apparently, Kiki is actually 1 year older. Zixi was like, "What? She really is the big sis. She was adorable even back then." Han Feng, confused as always, mumbled, "She doesn't look that different from a middle schooler now. Wait, if she's 21 and Yang is 20. They really grew up fast." Then Zixi couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. She pointed at them and said, "Honestly, you two look more like mother and daughter right now." Zhang gave her the most deadly side eye and just turned away like, "I'm joking, chill." Then Zhang looked back at Kiki and said, "After you left the research institute, a lot happened." Kiki was like, "What kind of stuff?" Zhang just stared at Han Feng for a second. Han noticed and was like, why are you looking at me like that? Just say it." Then he quickly stood up, dragged Nurse Kim along, and was like, "Let's take a walk around the cave, maybe find something useful." Total avoidance move. But Kiki got off Zhang's lap and stopped them. "You don't have to go. If you were chosen by the eye of evil, you have the right to know everything too." Han fake coughed and said, "Well, since my best friend insists, I guess I'll stay." Nurse Kim just bowed a little. "Apologies for the interruption." Zhang sighed. "All right, since my sister says so, I'll talk." She explained how after Kiki left, their research actually succeeded, but then their professor was murdered, and the whole institute got destroyed. Han Feng's brain was already short-circuiting. Wait, how are you dropping all this so casually? That's too much info in one sentence." Kiki said she already knew. Zhang was shocked. "How?" Kiki said the city's been wild. Factions were capturing superhumans. If anyone revealed themselves, they'd probably get hunted down, Zhang said. "So you know about that too?" Then she dropped another bomb. "If you overuse your powers, these weird superpower crystals grow on your body." She pulled down her collar and showed her neck. "But we found a way to remove them." Kiki was like, "Oh yeah, those? He had them on his heart a few days ago." She casually pointed at Han. "I helped him get rid of it." Han. "Wait, what? You did? What to me? Why didn't I know about this?" Zhang asked. "So, do you also know about the ability to detect other superhumans' energy?" Kiki. "Nope." Zhang got a little gloomy. She hugged her knees and mumbled, "You don't have to pretend to comfort me. You're a genius. There's no way you don't. Know something so basic." Kiki just patted her head softly and said, "I really don't. But you're amazing, so teach me." Han couldn't take it anymore. Hey. Why are y'all talking like a riddle game? Just tell the story from the start already." Kiki's face changed. "It's not a happy story. It's hellish from the beginning." Zhang asked, "You sure you want the full version?" Han nodded. "Yeah, I'm sure." And in his head, he was thinking, "I've never seen her this serious before." So Yang started the story. Back then, she was 18, graduating with her degree. Kiki was 19 and finishing her master's. They were known as the genius beauty duo at the lab. Han muttered, "Okay, now this sounds made up anyway. 2 years ago, they found this superhuman chick frozen in ice, thanks to her own powers. Then last year, both sisters awakened their powers too. But right after that, Kiki vanished. Early this year, the lab successfully created artificial superhumans. But then the professor leading the whole thing got murdered in the women's bathroom. Han and Kim. Wait, the women's bathroom? Why there? Zhang continued. After that, more researchers either disappeared or got killed. In the end, the whole building went down. Only 3 of them escaped thanks to their powers. Han guessed, so someone's trying to take over your research? That's why they're wiping everyone out? Zhang said there's a group in the city called Base. They've been collecting superhumans. She suspects they're the ones behind the attacks. Han was like, could it be that Fatso and his boss again? Then he asked, the soldiers you were fighting, were they from Base? Did you capture anyone? Zhang nodded. We caught a minor captain, but he said he wasn't with Base. He's from something called Uprising Volunteer Group 1. Everyone. Uprising what now? Zixi added, yeah, that prisoner uncle helped a whole neighborhood during a crisis. But after that, he got captured by the Uprising guys and turned into cannon fodder. Yuanyi chimed in too, saying, that dude looked like a proper gentleman, very educated, very classy. You can tell he's a good person. Han was like, no way. Uprising groups turning people into disposable tools? He immediately thought of Brother Lee and the others, hoping they weren't involved in something that messed up. So he turned to Zixi. Where's the prisoner? Can you take me to him? A few minutes later, deep inside the cave where they had a bunch of cells, all empty by the way, Zixi pointed at one. He's in here, she said. The prisoner was just a few steps ahead. Zixi called out, Captive Uncle, we've got more questions. The guy replied, little lady, I already told you everything. When are you letting me go? The Uprising group captured me and my friend. We had no choice. We just did what we had to do to survive. I'm a victim too. That's when Han Feng stepped forward and said with a grin, heh, I figured it'd be you. So you're a minor captain now, huh? The prisoner looked up, shocked, and Han dropped the name Jiang Shuiyu. So out of nowhere, Han Feng walks up and goes, Jiang Zuyu, and he just starts roasting him on sight. Wow, look at you, our big-time philanthropist, Mr. Jiang. Didn't you run off with your baby brothers for a better life or whatever? So, why are you locked up in a creepy-ass basement now? Zixi's jaw hit the floor. Wait, you two know each other. Jiang Zuyu steps forward all dramatic, like he's in some tragic movie. I didn't expect to see you here either, Mr. Han Feng. Back then, I only tried to take your resources to save people. I hope you can understand. But Han Feng just squints and goes. So basically you're saying it's my fault for not handing them over. Jiang quickly backpedals. No, I didn't mean it like that. You protecting yourself back then totally made sense. Han Feng wasn't buying it at all. He just snapped. Can you cut the act already? You think I'm stupid? He pulled out his gun like it was nothing and shoved it right against Jiang's forehead. Didn't you leave with those guys from base? So why the hell are you pretending to be part of the Uprising volunteer group? Zixi freaked out. What? He's from base. She spun toward Jiang like, yo, are you for real? You lied to us. Jiang just sighed, doing that slow, exhausted sigh like, here we go again. Then he said, I didn't lie, it's complicated. Then he launches into this story. Apparently, yeah, he did join base at first and even became a mini captain. But then during some mission to surround the Uprising group, boom, ambush. His squad got caught lacking and had to surrender. So they ended up switching sides and joining the volunteer group instead. Oh, but it gets worse. Recently, the Uprising volunteer group had a dumb plan where they pretended to be soldiers and tried to steal this underground storage spot. Jiang was part of that mess too. But surprise, they failed hard and got wrecked. That's how he ended up captured. Han Feng just scowled. You done spewing all that BS? And Jiang was like, look man, if you don't believe me, that's on you. Bad move. Han Feng grabbed him by the hair, slammed his head right into the prison bars and growled. You think I'm some dumbass like the residents you scammed before? Cut the crap. Jiang's like, I'm telling the truth, barely able to talk through the pain. Then boom, Han Feng punches the dude so hard he goes flying, like cartoon style. But Jiang wasn't giving up. This man stood back up, bloody nose and all, and wiped it like some war veteran. Mr. Han, I swear, everything I said is the truth. I'm already a prisoner and you know my past. You think I'd still be lying when my life's already on the line? Han Feng clicked his tongue, annoyed, and pointed his gun at Jiang again. Fine, one more chance, spill everything you know about base, but I swear if you lie. Jiang was like, look, I was barely there before I got caught. I don't know that much. Adjusts glasses dramatically. Bullet grazes his ear. Han Feng, that one didn't kill you because I think you still got some value. Lie again and I'll make sure you don't have a second ear to complain with. Jiang Zuyu, now sweating like crazy and bleeding all over the place, starts spilling everything like a busted faucet. Fast forward a few hours, Han Feng and Zixi are walking through the hallway. Zixi's still in awe like, bro, lil bro. Damn Han Feng, that whole scene just now, you were such a badass. Han Feng's like, you're too kind. I'm blushing here. They walk in to meet the others. Zixi skips an all-cheerful, sister, we're back. Miss Zhang, Nurse Jin, and Quickly are chilling, playing cards, and even Yuni peeks down from the top bunk. Han Feng coughs dramatically and calls Quickly the middle school girl. Then, with a big grin, he drops the bombshell. You guys will never guess who the prisoner was. It's Jiang Zuyu. Everyone, Miss Zhang's like, wait, you know the prisoner. Quickly jumps in and starts explaining everything. Miss Zhang connects the dots and realizes, oh hell no, we got lied to. Then Yuni drops a classic line. Honestly, I always thought good-looking guys are shady. Han Feng drops more tea. Turns out Jiang's actually from base. This underground storage, it belongs to base. And apparently their patrol team always gets messed with by the uprising volunteer group. That's why they're building up forces to crush them. Nurse Jin mutters, uprising group, maybe Uncle Lee is involved. Han Feng says, actually, Jiang said the new leader of the uprising group is Li Zi. Nurse Jin and Quickly, no way. Han Feng agrees like, yeah, I didn't believe it either. That's why I beat the crap out of him. Jiang looks confused. Wait, you guys know the uprising volunteer group? Quickly nods, it's a long story, but yeah. Miss Jiang's like, damn, y'all been through a lot. Han Feng then drops some nasty info Jiang spilled. Base is camped out at the international airport with like 1,000 soldiers. They're grabbing up people and resources citywide. The healthy ones join the army and get normal food. But the ugly, old, and dead people, they secretly turn them into food for everyone else. Yuni gagged, that's disgusting. Zixi was ready to go full kamikaze. That group's inhuman, we should just bomb them. But Han Feng noticed something odd. Hey, why don't you two look shocked? Nurse Jin goes, Uncle Li Zhenghao already told us about this. Han Feng was low-key hurt, he didn't tell me anything. Ouch. Then he stood up. If base beats the uprising group, we're next. Their villa is just around the corner, we're sitting ducks. So I say we gear up and go help the uprising group ourselves. Who's with me? Quickly, the evil eye approves this message. Later at the cave, Han Feng's like, all right, Quickly, suck up all these cannons and bombs. We're nuking base. Quickly's evil eye flares up like a possessed vacuum and starts absorbing everything. Zixi's jaw drops. That power's insane, as expected of my sis's lil sis. Even Yuni's like, yo, that's wild. Han Feng drags Quickly around like a shopping cart. There's rations over here, and an armory. Grab the guns, don't forget the fuel. Quickly's getting woozy. I'm so full, I might puke. Then Nurse Jin and Zixi pull in a huge box like it's nothing. Yuani's behind Miss Jiang's wheelchair, just observing. Miss Jiang says, these are military walkie-talkies. The range is 30 kilometers. Take them so we can stay in touch. Han Feng grabs some and immediately tries to stuff them into Quickly's evil eye. Quickly screams, "No, I'm full." Han Feng begs, "Come on, it's the last one, you got this." Meanwhile, somewhere else, Brother Li's panicking. "They've surrounded us. I can't find Brother Zhenghao. I told y'all I'm not leadership material." Qiang grabs him. "Pull yourself together, bro. You can do this." Suddenly someone bursts in. "Boss, they've tied up our people as human shields on the front of their tanks. They're heading our way." And just outside, the enemy's yelling, "You're surrounded. Surrender now or we will start shooting." So right from the start, boom, we got tanks. Big ones. Military tanks were already locking onto this random building like they were filming an action movie. One of the guys behind the thermal imaging screen was like, "Yo, we've had these scopes running the whole time, but I swear I haven't seen a single warm body." Dude was starting to doubt everything like, "Are we even sure they're here?" His buddy wasn't having any of that. "Bro, shut up and follow the damn orders. Jui Tang is here, so the target's gotta be around too." So thermal scope guy picks up the mic and goes, "Captain, 4th Squad's got nothing. No targets." The captain, probably chewing gum and getting bored, responds like a robot, "Copy that. 4th Squad, go to the next street. Stick to the plan." "Roger," the commander yells back like he's in a Call of Duty lobby. Then captain calls up the other squads, like he's checking attendance. "1st Squad report. No targets. 2nd Squad. Nope, nothing. Now let me paint you this picture. Captain Zhao is chillin' in his fancy ride, and there's this mysterious guy in the backseat. This guy's not just sitting, he's lounging like he owns the damn place. Probably has a crown on in his imagination. He leans forward and asks, "Captain Zhao, you even capable?" Yeah, that disrespect was loud, with a candlestick chilling in his mouth like he's in some mafia flick. The guy continues, "You let some ability user escape last time and got dragged by the commander. Don't tell me you're screwing this up too." Captain Zhao, trying to stay cool, replies, "Sir, this is the old district. The buildings are packed tight. They could be anywhere. But don't worry, we'll keep closing in. They won't get out." Mafia Candle Man is like, "Blah blah excuses, I'm done playing." He steps out the car, flicks on a blue flame lighter like he's in a movie trailer, lights his candle and gives Zhao this look like, "Don't fail me again, peasant. I hope you actually finish the mission this time. Good luck." he says and walks off like a final boss. Back inside the vehicle, the driver side-eyes and asks, "Who the hell is that punk?" He's too full of himself. Zhao lights his own candle. Yes, it's a thing apparently, and deadpans. He's not even human. Then he grabs the mic and gets serious. "All squads, shrink the perimeter. Sweep every house, every basement. Don't leave a single rat behind." "Yes, Captain," comes the reply from the squads. Meanwhile, we cut to a snowy road, and guess who's vibing there like it's a ski resort? Han Feng and Quiqui, literally sitting on chairs that are attached to Yuan's giant snow avalanche like it's a magical Uber. Han Feng's got his eye scope on and is like, "Damn, we got into the city hella fast. Your power's broken, Yuan." Yuan mentally, "So I'm a ride now? Great, love that for me." But flashback a few hours ago in the cave, Han Feng was all over Yuan like, "Bro, think about it. Fresh meat, fresh veggies, stuff you can't just grab anywhere. All you gotta do is help out a little." Zixi jumped in like a cheerleader. Agree fast." Yuan reluctantly was like, "Fine, but I swear it's only for the food." Back to the present, Han Feng points left like a GPS. "Turn left here. Should be 2 more streets to go." They finally stop at this nasty underground sewer entrance. Han Feng goes, "This sewer leads straight to our residential zone. Brother Li and I used this before." Quiqui uses her evil eye TM to magically clean up the chairs like it's some kind of folding furniture spell. Now they're deep in the sewer, riding that snowy avalanche through the tunnels like it's Mario Kart. Han Feng warns them, "Stick close. This place is a maze, easy to get lost." He adds, "We're right below the city center now. People might be hiding here, so watch for ambushes." Soon enough, they hit a rock wall blocking the path. Han Feng's like, "Hold up, I got this." Fast forward, boom. They finally make it to Xingfu Community 2, if everyone looks like they've been running marathons. Han Feng wipes sweat off and goes, "Phew, we're finally out. Can't believe I'm back here. Everything feels like it happened a lifetime ago." Quiqui asks, "So, where do we even find Uncle Li and the others?" Han Feng shrugs. "All I know is Jiang Zuyu said they're somewhere in the old city district west side. No exact spot though." Cut to Ximen 1 hour later. Soldiers are actively hunting Brother Li. Han Feng and crew are on a rooftop, scanning with scopes. Then boom, an explosion goes off a few blocks away. Han Feng zooms in. "Wait, is that Brother Li?" Turns out, Brother Li and his guys are surrounded. Brother Li grabs a mic and yells, "You base bastards, Grandpa Li is right here. Come kill me if you got the balls." He turns to his crew and shouts, "If we're going down, we're taking some of them with us. Never surrender, never surrender, never surrender." Meanwhile, the military captain is like, "All units open fire, leave no one alive." One of the commanders hesitates, "But sir, our mission was to find the secret key from Jui Tang." The captain glares, "We've lost too many men. If they won't surrender the key, they all die." "Oh yes, Captain." Tanks and soldiers lock on. Target acquired, awaiting command. Fire, boom, but not where they expected. An explosion goes off right behind the captain's vehicle. "What the hell?" he shouts, peeking out. Yuan's avalanche comes racing in like a missile. Han Feng's on top, screaming woo-wo and laughing. He's chucking grenades everywhere like it's confetti. Quiqui hooked him up with them using her evil eye again. Boom, boom. Soldiers scream, chaos everywhere. The captain squints. "It's that damn kid again. He's trying to distract us." He smirks, "But if I catch him, the commander will love me again." So he grabs the mic. "Forget Jui Tang, go after that brat." Yuan's avalanche zooms off. Alone now, he mutters, "Seriously, you're making a literal kid do distraction work, you monsters." Suddenly, flash, a red beam lights up from the rooftop. Han Feng and Quiqui reappear. Han Feng just burned a hole in the concrete with his power, crawls up and yells, hey, over here." They finally meet up with Brother Li. Bro sprints toward Han Feng and hugs him like a bear. "Little bro, I thought I was dead meat. You saved me." Han Feng gently pushes him off like, Yeah, save the love. It's still dangerous here." One of Li's guys whispers, "Wait, he saved us." "Who is that?" Brother Zhenghao steps up. "That's Brother Han Feng, he's one of us." Li grins, "We've faced death together. He's family now." Han Feng's like, "Okay, enough with the speeches. Follow me, I brought goodies." Li perks up, "Yo, what supplies you got? The boys are starving." Then he sees them. Cannons. Someone yells, "Why are there freaking howitzers here?" Han Feng whispers, "The Chuni girl placed them here earlier. Don't tell anyone, it's her secret weapon stash." Li nods like, "Say no more, little bro." Then Han Feng turns to Jui Tang's soldiers and shouts, "It's time to fight back. Let's blow those base rats sky high." So picture this, Han Feng was all fired up and shouted, "Let's turn those bastards at the base into dust." Right after that, Quickly slid in all dramatic like she was in some anime. Apostles chosen by the evil eye, rain down karmic fire and cleanse this sinful world. Han Feng just looked at her like, "Girl, really?" and calmly patted her head. All right, chill. No need to start cosplaying mid-battle." Meanwhile, Brother Lee had sparkles in his eyes like a kid meeting his superhero. "Little bro, you're so damn cool." But over in the corner, one of Zhu Yitang's soldiers looked super confused. "What's this kid even saying?" Another one answered, "Bro, that's called Chunabiu, don't ask." But Brother Lee was hyped. Dude grabbed Han Feng's arm like, "Bro, teach me how to fire the cannon. I want to blow those base bastards to hell." Han Feng blinked and was like, Who told you I know how to fire it? I just brought the thing, man." Lee didn't even flinch. "I literally just called you awesome and this is how you pay me? Come on." So he turned to the rest of the squad like, "Anyone here know how to use a cannon? Anybody?" Everyone looked at each other awkwardly like it was a pop quiz. One guy said, "I can shoot a handgun." Another was like, "I saw a cannon on TV once, I think." Then one brave short dude stepped forward, looking like the underdog in a war movie, small, messy hair, but eyes full of confidence. "I'm an artillery man," he said. Everyone lit up like, "Finally, a pro." Even Han Feng looked impressed. The guy stepped up, holding this tiny stick like it was a pointer for a classroom, and started lecturing them all like it was Artillery 101. "This here is a 105 howitzer made in the 1970s. Barrel length 34 caliber. Shoots at 662 meters per second. Max range is 14,700 meters, 18,000 with rocket assist. The barrel can tilt from -5 degrees to 65 degrees, turns 23 degrees side to side, and it's got a soft recoil system." Everyone stared like, "Bro, what? Just shoot the thing." Han Feng moved in like, "All right, nerd, enough talk. Let's blow something up. You see that tall building over there? The base squad is right inside it. Can you flatten that whole thing with one shot?" Brother Lee, confused as ever, asked, "Wait, how do you know they're there?" Han Feng smirked. "Let's just say I left them a surprise gift. Once they see it, they won't be in a hurry to leave." Cut to the base squad literally at that same building. Their trucks were parked outside. Captain rolls up just in time and a soldier salutes like, "Sir, we lost the target, but we found something inside this building." They go in. "Sir, it's stocked with fuel and rations." The captain was suspicious. "Why would anyone hoard supplies here? Zhu Yitang, maybe?" Another soldier asked, "Should we take M?" "First, check for traps," the captain said. "If it's clean, it's ours." Inside, captain's thinking, fuel and rations like this. Too good to be true. Wait, all fuel. That's when his gut dropped. "No, don't tell me." At that same moment, Han Feng just casually yells, "Fire!" Boom, cannons go off like thunder. The poor base soldiers were just trying to carry fuel when the first shell slammed into the building. Chaos, flames everywhere. The building started crumbling. Inside, soldiers were thrown like ragdolls. One guy even caught fire midair. Captain got yeeted back into a wall, head first, smoking, stunned, half on fire, mumbling, "It's over." Everything was on fire. The ground, the walls, the damn air. Back at Han Feng's spot, cannon fire was still shaking the whole place. Echoes everywhere. Brother Lee was cheesing hard. "Bro, this cannon is sick." Han Feng yelled, "What? I can't hear you," like two old men at a rock concert. "Once we run out of shells, we gotta dip. We're exposed now." 10 minutes later, Brother Lee straight up tackled Han Feng like a puppy. Firing that cannon was so satisfying. Even the Zhu Yitang soldiers were hyped, laughing and yelling. Those bastards got what they deserved. "Big bro Han, you're a damn legend." Han Feng, as always, was the only sane one. All right, stop celebrating. We gotta bounce now before they track us here." Lee, still hyped, ran back to the cannon. "Let's take it with us." The soldiers answered, "Yes, big bro," then paused. "Wait, how do we move this beast? It's stuck in the snow." Lee stared for a second. "Yeah, okay, forget the cannon. Let's just plant landmines around it and blow them to Kingdom Come when they show up." Everyone, "Yes, boss." Then Han Feng remembered something. "Hey, weren't you on a mission to rescue Boss Liu?" Lee nodded. "Yeah, but we don't even know where they're keeping him. We've just been grabbing patrols and squeezing them for info." "And what about Bearded Uncle? I haven't seen him." "Oh, Brother Zhenghao, we split up earlier but lost contact." Han Feng sighed, "Don't stress. You'll find him eventually. For now, head back to the Xingfu community, rest up." Lee blinked. "The place we used to live." "Why?" "I stashed a ton of weapons and gear in the underground garage. Enough to gear you guys up like a mini army." Lee was emotional. "Little bro, you're the best." A few hours later, the base squad finally reached the cannon site. "Captain, we found the cannons that bombed us." The captain, now in a wheelchair, head bandaged, smoking like he just got out of the ICU, growled, "How many cannons?" Then snapped, "Useless. I told you to find the bastards, not the damn cannon." Just then, the soldier pushing his wheelchair nudged it forward slightly. Click! Captain's eyes widened. Damn it. Boom, landmine goes off. Meanwhile, Han Feng watched the explosion from a distance, completely chill. Ah, so the landmines did go off. Wonder who the lucky idiot was. Then Brother Lee popped up from behind like a ghost. Little bro, what are you doing out here? Come inside and drink. So they headed in, raised their cups around the table. Cheers. Later on, back at the mine-blasted site, a black vehicle pulled up. Out came a tall dude in a long coat with 4 heavily armed soldiers behind him. Yup, this was the same guy who was with Captain Zhao earlier. He looked at the burnt corpses like they were trash on a sidewalk. Clean up the bodies, food, too scarce to waste now. Yes, sir. Then he pulled out his walkie-talkie, tuned it, and said, Commander, Captain Zhao was ambushed and sacrificed himself valiantly. The commander on the other end? Brutal. What a useless fool. You're in charge now. Find the secret key. Yes, Commander. So while the city, out there covered in snow, freezing its face off, this new commander dude, Zhang Dongsu, is chilling like he's on a lazy vacation. He's the guy who just replaced Captain Zhao, RIP, blown sky-high by a landmine, and guess where he set up his temporary command post? A scenic high-rise cafe. Yeah, no jokes. Zhang is just sitting back with a fresh cup of coffee, warm steam rising like something out of a Hallmark movie. He takes a sip like he's in a coffee commercial and goes, Man, it's a damn blizzard outside. Only an idiot would be out working in this weather. Let me just enjoy my coffee. Bro was really feeling himself. Then still lounging, he turns to a random soldier nearby and says, Tell the squads to stop clumping together. Break into groups of 3, search carefully, no slacking. All while holding his coffee like a wine glass. The soldier replies, Yes, yes. But in his mind he's like, This dude's just sitting here sipping drinks while we freeze our asses off. Captain Zhao used to suffer with us. This guy's a joke. As he drops off another tray of rice for Zhang, who clearly hasn't missed a meal in weeks. Zhang's in his head again, thinking, sooner or later, the Jui Tang folks will run out of food and come crawling out. The moment they attack one of my patrols, bam, I'll have them. And as he eats, he's loving the rice like it's the best thing ever. Only people like me get to enjoy this luxury now. Meanwhile, he's over here assuming Han Feng's squad is out there chewing snow like desperate hamsters. Cut to the Xingfu community. Total opposite vibe. It's warm inside, heaters blasting, lights on, the table packed with more food than a wedding buffet. Han Feng, Brother Lee, and the boys are literally stuffed. First guy groans, I can't drink anymore. Another moans, this beef is heaven. One guy's shivering from joy, not cold. Even the short dude from earlier, now with a belly full of veggies, mumbles, I could die happy now. Suddenly, 3 dudes stand up all dramatic and bow like they're in some martial arts flick. Big brother Han Feng, if you'll accept us, we'd like to call you our big bro. Han Feng in his head was like, bro, seriously, do y'all have no shame? Then he turned to Brother Lee. Why do I get the feeling these guys are sketchy as hell? Lee was like, don't worry about it, little bro. I recruited them a few days ago. They're green, but they mean well. And hey, they already look up to you, man. You're their big bro now. Show some love. Sigh, Han Feng reluctantly pulled out a pack of cigarettes like it was treasure. Who wants one? The room went wild. These dudes acted like he handed them gold bars. Cigarettes? They each grabbed a stick and lit up immediately. Within minutes, the room looked like a smoky nightclub in the apocalypse. Brother Lee took a deep puff and said, nothing hits like a good smoke. One guy added, I haven't had one in a month. Meanwhile, Yuani and Quickly were in the corner, looking like medics in a war zone, full-on nose masks, waving away smoke with their hands. Yuani grumbled, smoking in front of a kid rude. And Quickly, this place is a den of demons. Yuani went over to Han Feng. All right, I did everything you asked. I'm heading back now. Han Feng nodded, oh right, thanks. Then he turned to Brother Lee. Hey, I came to deliver these supplies. Mission complete, time to go. Lee was shaking. What already? Han Feng explained, I had a clash with the base recently. Gotta stay ahead in case they retaliate. Lee panicked. Wait, what? Did they find your villa? Han Feng immediately slapped a hand over Lee's mouth. That's a secret. Lee mumbled, oops, almost let it slip. Han Feng continued, after chasing them off, I found this warehouse packed with weapons. Brought it all here for you guys. Lee was touched. Bro, you're too righteous, but one more favor. Can you give us a few more cartons of cigarettes? Han Feng raised an eyebrow. Why? You planning to throw a smoke party? Lee hesitated, then spilled the tea. Well, we pawned a few of our old brothers to survive. Wanna buy them back. Han Feng blinked. You what, you pawned people? Apparently times were so bad, they literally traded living people for food. Back then we were desperate, Lee said. But now the guys who took them want 4 times the original price. But if they kill our guys, Lee added, we'll just blow their whole place up. Then Qiang, who's apparently the economist of the squad, said, right now, a grown man goes for 10 jin of grain but a carton of cigarettes, worth 50 jin. Han Feng, Yuanyi, and Quickly were all like, what the actual? Yuanyi was horrified. Holy crap, human lives are worth less than lunch. And the fruit veggie market? Even worse. Li casually mentioned, someone traded 3 fresh tomatoes for 3 beautiful women. Han Feng's imagination short-circuited. Wait, what? Can we? No, that's messed up. Quickly and Yuanyi just stared at him like, you need help. Then Han Feng switched back to serious mode. Wait, so the base doesn't control the whole city? Li explained, they only control areas near the subway tunnels. That's how they move troops. No subways equals no control. Han Feng nodded. No wonder you've been hiding in the old city. No subway lines there. Suddenly, Li stood up, full of energy. Let's go redeem our brothers. We'll need them to save Boss Liu. But then bam, he collapsed. Han Feng freaked out. Bro, don't die on me. Turns out dude had a hidden wound that finally gave out. Blood soaked through. They rushed him to a bed, pulled off his shirt, and yeah, it was bad. Qiang examined him. He's been injured for days. Hold it in to avoid slowing us down. Respect. The room went quiet. Jui Tang's soldiers dropped to their knees, begging, please save Big Brother Li. Even Han Feng was shaken. Qiang said, I want to, but I don't know medicine. Han Feng told everyone, get out, let me try something. They refused, let us stay with Big Bro. But Qiang yelled like a drill sergeant, shut up and get out. Murmuring, they finally left. Only Han Feng, Quickly, and Yuanyi stayed behind. Han Feng put his hand over the wound, green healing light glowing like some kind of magic trick. But after 10 minutes, damn it, it's not working, he muttered. Does this healing only work on me? He asked Quickly if she had any medical supplies in her evil eye. She checked. Nada. Turned to Yuanyi. There should be meds in your military warehouse, right? Your sister got shot, didn't she? Yuanyi explained. The warehouse only had weapons, fuel, gear, food, no meds. And my sister's wound didn't get infected like this. Han Feng got serious. If we don't treat this now, Li won't make it. So he grabbed his walkie-talkie. Nurse Jin, are you there? Brother Li's down, wounds infected. What should I do? Nurse Jin gave him the whole procedure. Remove the bullet, flush with saline, disinfect with iodophor, antibiotics, fever meds, the whole medical tutorial. Han Feng was like, bet. I'm going to the underground black market to find this stuff. Qiang, you're with me. Yuanyi, bring the avalanche. Moments later, Han Feng and Qiang were riding the avalanche like it's a snowmobile straight out of a sci-fi movie. Qiang yelled, holy crap, we're flying over the ground. Han Feng was like, faster, go faster. Yuanyi, holding the controls, groaned in his head. Am I just a human Uber to this guy? Han Feng turned to Qiang. How much further to this black market? Are you sure the base won't catch us on the way? Qiang smirked, don't worry, we're close. The black market's under the river. Unfortunately, we have reached the end of the latest chapters, so we're going to end it here for now and wait for new releases. You know that I couldn't wait for more chapters to be released to make a longer video because this story is just that good. I hope you guys enjoyed today's installment as usual and are looking forward to more. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and turn on your notifications to stay tuned for future uploads. Expect that I'll be uploading the next episode as soon as possible.